Hi. I don't know if anybody's there. I've been trying to connect and I wasn't able to connect. Big shock with what's going on in my life right now. Let me see if I can say hi. Anybody let me know if you're there. I know there's a delay. You know, I'll just wait. I'll wait. Other people can't connect probably any more than I can connect. Hi. And I'm asking that my energy be lifted because I'm not in a happy camper mood right now. Which is probably why Spirit was having me wait. I was having a difficult time connecting, so they were probably giving me time to chill out. Hi. So, we're going to talk about family secrets. And I'm here to expose them. And people are like, oh my God, what is she going to say? Because I have a lot of information that comes to me. And I don't choose to have it. But it comes to me. And so I try to handle it. I try to separate what I'm picking up. Hi, thank you, I need it. I try to separate what I'm picking up from others from my own life, because when I connect energetically with people, as an empath, I pick up, and sadly for me, I dream their lives, and in detail. So I'm going to be, I'm going to use myself as an example, not my, and actually I am. I'm literally going to use myself. I've got so many things I want to talk to you about, and it's interesting because the things that I'm going to talk to you about used to be so humiliating for me. God, you know what? Clearly I'm not over it yet, because I just was going to tell you something and I thought I just can't. So here's me saying I understand when there's something that for you is so difficult that even though you want to admit or bring somebody in or confess to something, the humiliation to yourself is so strong that it's almost, I don't think I can tell you. I could tell the person I loved, and so many other people already know it about me, but it's still something that I carry. Oh, fuck it, I'm just going to tell you. Okay, so I was raised one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, I wasn't always. When I was a little girl, I was a full-on hippie kid. My mom was a hippie. I think she was always kind of loosely associated, but it's because she was looking for something. She was looking for a family, because she was raised by a mother who was communist. And my grandmother, don't say anything about that. My grandmother was my rock. She is my hero, and she had a different mindset about communism. She believed exactly how I believe, except for she believed man would bring it about, and at the time I believed God would bring it about. Well, I now believe that we both bring it about because we're co-creators. So my grandmother was more tapped in than I was. But my mother was embarrassed. And my grandmother grew up in the Great Depression, and she didn't have any money, and she had to raise 2 children on her own because she had a drunk for a husband. She had an abusive father who molested her and all of her sisters. Her sister had a child by her father, and the episode was so traumatic and so difficult for what she went through that she was never able to have children after that. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. She was my mom's favorite aunt, and she moved to Australia to get the fuck away from her dad. And I'm not going to apologize for swearing. I'm not going to apologize. Because I'm upset. I'm upset for all of these people that I'm carrying this pain for. And I'm trying to release it. So I need to express myself. And I believe that by expressing myself, it may help some of you express it. And realize it's not yours to carry. So, here my mom is being raised with a brother who they never got along. They were like oil and water. They were completely different. My mother looked like Elizabeth Taylor. She was beautiful. And my uncle was very handsome too, very tall, 6'3.5", blue eyes, black hair. He was very, very into communism though, and my mother didn't agree with, so they fought all the time. they never had a good relationship. My mother's dead now, but they died not speaking. My mother's, my grandma's sister, the one who was so badly abused, she went on to marry, and she became very wealthy. And she would come to visit, and she was wearing furs, and and here my grandma was struggling to take care of my mom and my uncle, and working so hard, and she didn't have a lot of money, and so she didn't go buy my mom pretty pink dresses with fluffy white fur coats. You know, she had to think about what was important, what would last a long time. So she would buy her a gray wool jacket that would last, because she was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and then they moved, from Saskatchewan. It was cold in the winter, and my grandmother was sensible. And my grandmother always was what you would call a handsome woman. She wasn't a beautiful woman like her sister, but she was a wonderful person, and she loved her kids, and she worked hard, and she tried really hard. But my mother was always resentful. She always wanted the pretty things. And they never got along. They had a love-hate relationship, more hate than love. But my grandma was my rock. It always seems to be that way, where the kids and the grandparents and the parents skip generations, So, I have the radio on and it's way too loud right now. Katy Perry's yelling at me in the background. She's trying to give me a shot in the arm. Anyway, I'm going to get to the point of all of this, but I think a lot of you are relating. I know you are, because I have people writing to me constantly telling me their stories. And they're all mirrors, because I'm watching my life over and over and over, and that's why it happens to all of us. We keep getting these mirrored events that happen because they're trying to help us work through family issues. And it confuses me, because the mirrors that I get are so, thank you, the mirrors that I get are so crystal clear, and they show me people in my life represented, and it hurts me, because I watch the people I love going through things and I can't help them. I have to just watch it. And I didn't ask for this gift. And just let me get my head together, sorry. Spirit told me to do this. Okay, so grandma and mom, their whole life it went on that way. It was not good. They had a very, very thinly veiled relationship. It was surface. My mom marries my dad. He's my stepdad. He's German, which means he's a very hard worker. He's very fastidious. He's very persnickety. My mother had a thing for Europeans. I will never marry a European. I will tell you this. I will never again marry a European. My big secret, the biggest secret of my life, the one that I have the most shame about, I've been married several times. And it had to do with the way I was raised. It had to do with obligation. It had to do with what I was told was right and my parents choosing for me. But I did it, even though I was an adult. And I carried this shame like a fucking scarlet letter on my back. And when people look at me, and I know that everybody else has their stuff, right? Everybody has their secrets. And we carry it, but we all have secrets. And we all think that everyone is judging us, when actually we're judging ourselves. I used to sit and tell the reason why I was married so many times. My daughter was molested. You think I'm going to stay with that man? No. I was physically abused for 10 years. You think I'm going to stay in that marriage? No. I can't tell you the other reason, because it's not mine to tell. Just suffice it to say, I have never been married to the man that I 100% completely love. That was my choice. But if his family were to look at me, they would say, my God, look how many times she's been married. What's wrong with her? Why can't she stay married? And I used to feel like I had to tell. I was a good mom. I was a good wife. I was loyal. I was faithful. I was abused. My children were abused. I don't believe in living with people. I didn't believe, because of my religion, that it was allowed for you to have sex with someone unless you were married. So I married them. So I was like a serial marrier. I haven't been with anyone for 10 years, and I gotta tell you, marriage scares me. And yet I know I want to be married to the one person that I love with all my heart. But I'm sure his family looks at me and thinks, for God's sake, there's no way we're going to allow this. So that's my sin. That's my secret. That's my crutch. I had another secret. I got a DUI. I've told you guys about this. I told you the other day that I smoked something called salvia, and I took a trip that literally I thought I was going to die. I don't do drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a drug taker. The people that know me know that. I'm not an alcoholic, but I will tell you that every single male member of my family, except for my son and one cousin, are. The grandfathers, my grandfather, great-grandfathers, my father, all the way back for generations. None of the women, but the men all were. But the women all suffered from physical and sexual abuse. It's just my family, fucked up family history. And it's my pattern to change in this life. It was between my daughter and I to stop this pattern so that my grandson didn't have to live this life. And he doesn't have to carry the pain and the shame and the guilt that we carry. Because no matter how strong we say we are, I carry this pain. I carry it from my grandma. I carry it from my mom. I carry it from my daughter that I wasn't able to help. She didn't ask. And my son that I'm not even speaking to because he doesn't believe in my spiritual convictions. He is still a Jehovah's Witness, and hell will come and go, and I will never be a part of a religious organization again that forces you to stay in a marriage with somebody who beats the shit out of you, who molests your child, and covers it up. It's not okay. So my son and I don't speak. He is a beautiful boy. He's a strong kid. And he was mentally abused by a man that I married. I tried my hardest to save him. I tried my hardest to be between them, and I'm the one who took it. But he was raised by that man. And even though that man and my daughter would be so angry at me for telling this, he was raised by a man that was very abusive. He was all he knew was what he saw and what he lived through. He's not a bad person. He's a really good man. And he loves his daughter, and he's a good dad. But he wasn't when we were together. And my daughter chooses not to remember that. She was too little anyway, because it was over by the time she was 5. It was over because it started to affect her, and I wasn't going to have it happen. I didn't have any idea how badly my son was affected. I thought I protected him. I didn't know that by watching that, he watched me. And when you stay in an abusive relationship, you are teaching your son. If this is a woman, I was teaching my son it's okay to do this to a woman. It's okay for a woman to take this. I was teaching my daughter it's okay to be abused. It's okay to be spoken about this way. And it's not okay. No one has the right to hit you. My stepfather that raised me hit me my whole life. When I was 16, I snuck out. Actually, I was 17 and a half. And I was in love, I thought, with my son's father. He is the only one that I chose. He is the only one that I think in a childlike love would come close to the love that I feel for the person I'm in love with now and have been for 20 years. But he wasn't good enough for my family. He didn't have any money. And he was 21 years old, you know? And he worked for himself. He had his own business. He was a tile setter, and he was damn good at it. And he bought a mobile home. His grandmother co-signed it for him, with him. But he made the payments, and I was so proud of him. He had this mobile home in Encinitas, Leucadia, California. And I gotta tell you, living in that little mobile home, I was so proud of him, and I was so happy. I had a postage-sized backyard, and I had a beautiful little garden. But he never felt good enough. And we had a terrible marriage. We were only married 1 year. It was horrible because I was just a little girl. And he was the only one married, and all of his friends were single, and they were all surfing, and he loved me, and he knew that we couldn't be together, because what I didn't tell you was when I was 17 and a half, actually when I was 16 and a half, my parents forbid me to see him because there was someone else they wanted me to be with, and he was very wealthy. That man had his hands all over me. He stuck his hands down my pants when we were on a date. I pushed him away. I told my dad, and my dad laughed, and he said, men will be men. Now, if my husband, the one I married, had done that, he would have been out. But they wanted me with this one. Now, I know that if I go back and look at it from my parents' point of view, my father wanted me to be with someone that I was going to be taken care of. He wanted me, and so did my mother. My mother had grown up with nothing. She was angry at my grandmother all the time that why can't I have pretty things? I want pretty things. My mother started a business as an adult, and she called it Pretty Things. She was so obsessed with having things that she didn't have when she was a child. And when she married my stepdad, he had no money. She loved him. He was charming. She loved him. He was the most handsome man, the most eligible man around. He looked like James Bond with blonde hair. He scared me. I'd never had a man in my life. I know I'm going back and forth, but believe me, it all comes together. She married this man with $50 in his pocket, and she had 2 children, and he had a little baby. So I had a little stepsister who died in a car accident. And 3 weeks after they got married, my dad is a brilliant man, brilliant mind. He has the Midas touch. He still does to this day. Anything he touches turns to gold, and my mother turned into a princess. She had gold dripping off of her fingers. I told you that it took 10 years. My dad gave her a gold band that was $50. For 10 years, she worked. And I got to tell you, my mom wasn't a spoiled brat then. She was the family. She took care of the kids. She took care of the house. And my dad worked his ass off. There's a lot of good that you don't see as a child. All you see is the things that hurt you. You don't see what your family has been through before. You don't understand from a child's perspective what a parent has been through until you've gone through it yourself. On their 10th anniversary, my dad took my mom to Hawaii, and he spent $10,000 on her because he felt like he should have taken care of her. He should have given her what she deserved. Now, I told you my mother was ravishingly beautiful. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor. I'm not lying. She was so beautiful. But when she got spoiled, she gained a lot of weight. It had a lot to do with her own insecurities. And she liked pretty things, and she liked chocolate like me. And our family has a tendency to put on weight. We just do. We're short. We're English stock. We're Welsh stock. And, we just have the tendency to put on weight. And it really sucks because my brother's dad, my mother's brother and my brother and my uncle's, my biological grandfather and my uncle are both 6'3.5", or they were, super tall, slim, just like my son. My son's 6'3.5", real thin. My daughter is 5 feet. I'm 5'2". My mother was 5 feet. My grandmother was 5'4". The women, stocky. Big, heavy legs. I'm terrified about my body, constantly worried about my body. So was my mom. Her insecurity and the fact that she got spoiled and a little bit lazy, because she did, caused her to put on weight. Now, these are the secrets. More secrets. I'm telling this now because my mother's dead, and she's given me permission, because in her life she would have rolled over in her grave. But now, as she's in spirit, she says, you go out and you do it, Sherry. My stepfather is not in my life, so it's not going to hurt him, not to mention he doesn't know anything about Facebook. My daughter's not on my page. If she was mad at me, she's going to have to deal with it. My son doesn't speak to me, and he doesn't watch any of this, so it is what it is. I do this for my spiritual work. So, my mom put on a lot of weight. My dad just wanted to be a father to me. He wanted to be the best father that he possibly could be to me. And but I've never had a man in my life, you have to understand. I've never had a man in my life that was close to me. My uncle was a hunter. You can imagine as who I am, how that went over. I wasn't close to him, he scared me. He had a big black beard. I could never tell until I was an adult that behind that big black beard were laughing, smiling, crinkling eyes. He terrified me my whole life. He murdered animals, and I didn't understand it. And he scared me. And he was a communist, and I was told that was bad. So I was afraid of him my whole life. No one touched me, except for his wife's father. My cousin and I went to see his tugboat. He was a captain on a tugboat. And I keep seeing this damn tugboat in my dreams. And I know it's connected to someone I love. So we went down. I don't know where my uncle was. He was with his wife somewhere else. This is his second wife. Wasn't my cousin's mother. And we went down into this tugboat. And this man, I remember the smell of alcohol on his breath. And I always wore a dress. I was never in a dress before my dad married us, because I was Becky. I became Becky Thatcher. Before that, I was like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. I was wearing jeans and bare feet, and most of the time bare feet and shorts. But now I was in this other family, and my hair was put into braids like Laura Ingalls, and I was moved into this family that, like the Olsen family, right? We had a lot of money. So our cousins looked down on us. They didn't like us. Actually, because they thought we were looking down on them, and we never were. But they didn't have the money that we had, and it put a wedge between my cousins and I, and it sucked. My cousins were my best friends. I didn't have any other friends. I wasn't allowed to have any friends because I was a Jehovah's Witness, and we weren't allowed to associate with worldly people that weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. So the only people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses that I was allowed to associate with were my two cousins. And they were both boys. My song that I sang when she was only 3, it's about me. Listen to the song, you'll understand. So my cousin and I, Sean, we climbed down this ladder. Now my cousin Kathy might be watching this. She is actually my step-cousin, and she is the daughter of the woman who my uncle was married to at this time. She also has gifts, and she was also made fun of when we were kids, and I didn't understand her either, and I didn't know what was going on. I now understand, and her and I we get it. Sean and I crawled down the ladder. I will admit that I must have blocked things out, because all I remember is the smell of alcohol, and I remember him sitting me on his lap, and I was in a dress. The next thing I know, I was running up the ladder, and I was screaming. I know he put his hand up inside of me, and I stopped it, like that. I didn't know anything about what was going on. I didn't know about sexual abuse. All I knew is that it was wrong. It felt wrong, and I ran. And I believe that I'm the only one that was not fully sexually molested in my family. I believe that because it hasn't come out. I still believe it though. So I ran up, and I went running, screaming at the top of my lungs, because I gotta tell you, I don't keep secrets. So it's been my job since I was a child this has always been my job. I just didn't know it. I've always been the messenger. I've always been the shaman. I've always been connected to the animals. So I'm running down the dock in this place. I run into the office, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And they're, what's wrong, little girl? What's wrong, little girl? I think I was, I don't know, I might have been 8. I don't think I was more than 8. And I just said, I want my dad. I want my dad. And the next thing I know, my uncle was yelling at me. We were in the car, and we were back at my grandma's house. I had told my grandma what happened. And the next thing I knew, my dad came and rescued me. And we never talked about it ever again. Until I said something to my grandmother years and years and years later as an adult. And I said, you know, when Dad, because I was talking to my grandmother about when my husband molested my daughter. And I had said, I want to just go into my mind. I want to disappear. I want to have a breakdown. I want to just go away because I can't deal with this. And she said, well, that's not going to happen because that's not how we're made. You have 2 children that need you. You're going to cry. You're going to get it out. And then you're going to move on. And you're going to do whatever you need to do to take care of these kids. And so I sat in that room feeling like my grandmother just punched me in the face because the one person I trusted in my entire life wasn't going to bail me out. I had to face this shit. You know, I was living in Canada. I know I'm going all over. We're going back. I was living in Canada with the abusive... God, let's see. This is the second, right? So I'm up there. I don't really know a lot of people. My nucleus family is in California. I don't feel comfortable in this religion that I'm in. I've always been an outsider, even while I was an insider. Even though I was devout and I followed it to the letter of the law, I didn't agree, and I spoke out, and I was vocal, and I was looked down upon because of it. When I found out what this man had done to my daughter, it was the worst thing in the world because he was my best friend, I thought. When I married him, I thought he was a gift from God. I thought that I literally was given this man in reward for what I had been through in my life. I thought he was a reward. I'm skipping all kinds of marriages and why. I mean, I wasn't married that many times, but I mean the reasons and what happened and on, so on. They told me in that church that if I divorced him, I would be disfellowshipped from the congregation, which means cut off, which means everyone that I knew, because you don't associate with people that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone that I knew would not be allowed to speak to me. So what did I do? Did I stay quiet? Because this is where now I'm going to tell you another person's story. Somebody that's been part of a sexual abuse, and they were told not to say anything, because if they told something, they would be cut off from the only people that they have ever known. And so they've kept quiet. I'm also going to tell you something else. I've seen somebody in a car accident. They were driving with their father, and their father was drunk. The father almost hit a tree, and the son said, "Stop! Watch out! Watch out! What are you doing?" I guess this person was constantly in the habit of drinking and driving. Next thing I know, I see an accident happen, and the car's upside down, and I hear the person say, "You tell them you were driving. If I get caught, I'll lose my job. I don't want to do this. I don't want to sign this. It makes me look like a criminal, and I didn't do anything." But what does he do? He signs his name. He takes the hit for a family member. So, when they said to me, if you get... Because why? Because they didn't want to be cut off from their family, from everyone that they knew. Because they felt like that they should do a service to their family. They should take the blame because they're saving their family. Fuck that. Fuck taking the blame for other people. I am so over taking the blame for other people and other people taking a hit for somebody else's actions. We make our own choices. We take the blame for the actions that we take. When they said to me, if you divorce this man, you will be disfellowshipped from this congregation, I said to them, get the fuck out of my house. Out of my house. Get out. I divorced him instantly. My daughter was already destroyed. And now my son was destroyed because this man who did this to my daughter was amazing to my son. This man took my son, who was crippled by that first man, out of a dark, desperate place and played basketball with him and taught him how to play the guitar, and he brought him from the darkness into the light. So when we talk about everything happens for a reason, in a sick, weird way, it does. Because my daughter was decimated, but my son was saved. And where am I? I'm in the middle. I'm sitting here going, my son didn't ask me to marry the man who mentally abused him. My daughter didn't ask me to marry the man who physically abused her. It was my choices that caused this to happen. So I carry the sins. So this is why we talk about the sins of parents and how they affect their children. My daughter says that she never blamed me, that she knows that I didn't know, but I feel like there's an aspect of herself, her subconscious, that because it has come up, that there had to be something, Mom, that you must have seen. And I gotta tell you, molesters are able to get away with what they're doing because they're that good. That's why they're little league coaches. That's why they're, camp counselors. That's why they're fucking priests. That's why they're in Jehovah's Witness organizations. It doesn't mean all Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong. Those are honorable people doing what they think is right. It doesn't mean all Catholics are wrong. It doesn't mean that all Mormons are wrong. It doesn't mean that all of anyone is wrong. What it does mean, though, is that those religious organizations shelter the ones that have done this because they don't want their religion to have a bad name. So they shelter these people, and that is wrong. That is what's wrong. So here I have to go again. I'm divorced again. Wow. You know how old I was? I was 30 years old. And I'm divorced again for the third time. I thought, what is wrong with my life? What am I doing wrong? I'm I'm a really good mother. I'm a really good wife. I have never cheated on anyone. Even when I was abused, I don't even go outside of my mind. I don't even have mental affairs. Nothing. I would wake up every single morning married to that man who abused me, and I would have dreams about where I would go, these wonderful dreams, and I would wake up in the morning and I would feel like I was kicked in the stomach because, oh my God, this is my life. This is my life, and I will never, ever be able to escape it, because I had already been divorced. I had been divorced when I was only 18 and a half years old, and I was already divorced because, and I'm going to go back, my mother chased him away. My mother chased away the man that I was married to, doing things that I didn't know that she was doing, which is what somebody in my life's mother did to me. It's the same situation. He didn't know what the mother was doing either, and they tried to chase me away. But the thing is, I'm a fucking pit bull, and I don't let go of the people I love. So he pushed me away, not understanding. I had emails written to me that were not written to me by the person that I love. They were written to me by the family. And I know that because I saw it. I watched it happen. I have visions. I have prophetic dreams. I see faces. I see names. I don't tell everything that I know. And sometimes I act and I say to people like I tell them that I know, but I'm not giving you the full story. Do you think I'm that stupid? When I was at work, because my husband didn't want me to work, he was young and he was proud and he wanted to take care of his wife, but he was struggling. So I went to work at a stupid little store making minimum wage. And when I was at work, my mother would go to my house and she would leave a half-eaten sandwich on the porch with a note to my husband saying, "Here, thought you guys might need something to eat." Like on and on and on. Why don't you leave her? Why don't you let her be with somebody that's worthy of her? I heard somebody say to my twin, "Leave her alone, you'll only hurt her. Besides, she's in love with," and named somebody else. That was a lie. I would be on food stamps. I would be living in a tent with the man that I love and not give a shit. I was so proud of my husband for that trailer that we lived in. But it was never good enough for my family. They wanted me, in their defense, they wanted me to be taken care of. But they had no right to do the things that they did. They had no right to speak the way they did to him. They had no right to look down their nose at him. They had no right to judge him. He already came from an abusive family. He already felt bad enough. I gotta tell you that this man, and I hope my twin doesn't get upset when I say this, because even he doesn't hold a candle to my twin. He was the most beautiful man I had ever seen. No, in my mind, because when I'm in love, all I see is the person I'm in love with. I was proud of him. He was very talented. He still is very talented. He was very gentle, very loving, very kind, but he had a wicked temper. And he had a lot of self-blame going on inside of his head, and he still does. He still carries it to this day, and it hurts me, makes me very sad. My family pushed him away. And I didn't know all the stuff that was going on. All I knew is I got pregnant. And I was so excited. I wanted to have a baby. And I saw that baby. I saw what that baby looked like. I just saw something. I've been seeing a child. I have a video. I have a picture of this child. She has blonde hair. And it's curly. And she has blue eyes. And she has a straight nose and she has full lips. And I didn't know who she was. And she came to me and she said she was my daughter. I had a miscarriage. And I just realized that that's who she is. Sorry. But after I had that miscarriage, I got pregnant. And he was really scared because he was 21. Actually, now, I guess he was 22. No, he was probably still only 21. Can you imagine 21 years old and your wife's pregnant and you're struggling? And she comes from a family that's got a father that's James Bond and filled with money, and you're never going to meet up to them, and you hear it every single time you see them. And they never let it slip that everything in your house they bought. I thought that my parents were trying to help, and I didn't understand why my husband was so angry. And now I would throw everything out the window, and I would sit in there with one beanbag that he got rather than sit on a piece of furniture they bought. I didn't understand that he wanted, that it was pride, and he wanted to provide for me. Every single time he sat down on that furniture, he heard in his head, "You're not good enough." So, anyway, I came home from work one day and he wasn't there. And something was wrong. I knew instantly. I went through the house and he was wrong. He was gone. I knew there was something wrong even though I couldn't put a finger on it. I went into the bathroom and his toothbrush was gone. And I called his mother and I asked, "Where is she? Where is he?" And she wouldn't tell me. "Please tell me where he is." She wouldn't tell me. I'm 3.5 months pregnant. I was already wearing a maternity dress because I wanted to be pregnant. I didn't show. It was ridiculous. So I called the congregation and I said, "I need to know where he is." I threw a fit. "Please let me know where he is. I know that this is a mirrored event of what's going on right now and has been for the last 2.5 years. Please tell me where he is." Finally, one of the brothers in the congregation went to her and said, "You need to tell her she's pregnant. She's going to lose that child." So they said, "He's at the airport." And I got into my car and I drove 125 miles an hour down the 5 freeway to the airport. And I found him at the airport with his stepdad. His stepdad loved me. And I said, "What are you doing?" And I had tears just pouring down my face. I was running through the airport. If you saw what I looked like when I was 21, I had hair past my waist to my butt, one length. I didn't wear any makeup except for mascara, maybe a little lip gloss. I looked like I was 16. And I'm running through the airport, and he's 6'3.5", black hair, beard. He looks like the devil. Looks completely different than somebody that I should have been with. And I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I have to leave, I have to leave." And he lied to me. He lied to me, and he told me that he was with someone else. And I knew that he was lying to me. But he said that because he knew I wouldn't let him go if I didn't believe that. He needed to get away. He said that night that I was out, because he was so stressed out about work, he was so stressed out about things that he needed to just walk. So he would go out, and I would be worried all night. Where were you? Where were you? I was so worried. And he would come home and he was smelling like alcohol, and I was so scared. And so he says to me that night that I left, I went down and I sat at a jacuzzi and I took a 12-pack and I drank it. And a girl came and she sat there and something happened and "I'm sorry." And I said, "I don't care. I forgive you." And he said, "I know you. I know you. You will never be able to let this go." And he says, "I have to go." And he said, "I just want you to know that I've never loved anybody but you." And he left. And I was so angry because I got to tell you the God's honest truth. I am all about loyalty, and I've never cheated on anyone, and I always said that if someone had cheated on me, I would never forgive them. But at that moment, faced with the person that I love walking away, I didn't care. It didn't matter, because what mattered was I love this person and he's leaving me. This has to do with all these abandonment issues that everybody's going through. I took my wedding ring off and I threw it across the airport parking lot. And he gave me his and I threw it too. And then I left and I went home. No, I didn't. I went to the payphone and I called my stepdad. And I was crying. And do you know what he said to me? He left you, didn't he? I always knew he'd leave you. He's nothing but a piece of shit. All right, come home. And so there I was, 3.5 months pregnant. This is my first divorce. You can imagine. I was 18 years old and I'm divorced and I'm pregnant. And my husband has left me and I don't know why. Because I know he didn't cheat on me. But my mother was over the moon because she wanted me with this other guy. And I got to tell you, when I got home, he was there. That other guy was there. They wanted me with that guy. And they tried to make this work with this other person, even though I was pregnant. And the man was really, he's a great looking guy and he was sweet. And we had dated, when my ex and I split up once. But I didn't love him. And it was wrong. I was pregnant. I was married and I was pregnant. But my mother took me down to the divorce court the next day. And she said, you're going to divorce him. He's cheated on you and you're pregnant and you're going to divorce him. And I said, I don't believe that. And I said, I don't believe it. I think he was. She says, what lie are you going to believe, Sherry? The first lie or the second lie? Because he lied to you. We all know how you feel about people who lie to you. So I signed the divorce papers. It took until my son was 2.5 months old before the divorce was final. And I went to divorce court. Now I got to tell you first, we're going to go back. This is a long and personal stuff, and you guys don't have to listen if you don't want. I just need to let it out because there's a lot of people that I'm telling you have written to me about these exact same stories, and that's why I'm using myself. I have to do this because there are too many of you that are allowing yourselves to stay separated from people that you were in love with. There are too many of you who are not forgiving people. There are too many of you who are carrying these secrets that need to let this go. So I'm doing this. So I'll go to the birth. I almost died having my son. I was in labor for 3.5 days. The pain was so excruciating that even though I was so exhausted, I would pass out in between contractions and the pain would wake me up and then I would pass out again. They waited too long to take the baby from the birth canal and they couldn't take him cesarean. He was literally stuck in the birth canal where my baby is right now. The love of my life is stuck in this birthing canal. And so the doctor said, and I could hear them as I would, I was out, but I could hear them. And the doctor said, he's not going to make it. And she's not going to make it either. And I got to tell you that my mom almost died having me. And my stepdad's wife did die having my little sister. So they were pretty fucking scared. And my mom said, save my daughter. And I woke up and I said, hell if that's going to happen. You're not going to take my baby. So I don't know. Clearly Spirit had a plan for me and for my son because they don't know how it happened. All of a sudden I just found all the strength that I had left in my body and I pushed that baby out. And I got to tell you that what was happening was my body can have a baby, my body can make a baby, but it doesn't want to let it go, which is clearly a symbolic message between my twin and I. We have this child, and for some reason we're not able to bring it into the world. So my body wouldn't dilate. And I went from 3 centimeters to 10 centimeters in 30 seconds, and I ripped myself, and that baby was born. And they took him away. They said that he had a hole in his heart, probably wouldn't survive. And I passed out, but I could hear them talking. I think I was probably above them watching. I was, because I saw everything. I now realize that, which I didn't realize actually until just this moment. How funny is that? I heard the nurses talking, and they were checking Devin over, and he didn't have a hole in his heart. He had a little dip. His rib cage kind of dipped in right above there, right where his heart was. But he didn't have a hole in his heart. He was fine. He was totally fine. And so the nurse, who was a complete moron, took the child and put him on my stomach. Well, I've been awake for 3.5 days and I've just gone through hell. I had no strength left in me. She turned around and that baby was in my arms. Now, women who have babies, I don't know what they're like now, but when we had kids, it's a metal like a gurney that you're on. There's no room for even your arms to be on it. I had no strength to hold this baby. And so my child was falling out of my arms onto the hard hospital floor. And the nurses had their back to me. talking to the doctor, and I couldn't speak. I heard my twin recently say, this is the strangest thing, not being able to speak. I understand that. You are paralyzed. You're in this place where you just can't speak. For me, it was terrifying, and I understand where he is. The baby was falling. He would have killed him. I'm screaming in my head, turn around, turn around, turn around, get my baby. She heard me, and she turned and said, oh my God, and grabbed the baby. And I was out. I was out for, I don't even know how long. But I gotta tell you, I sat in that hospital room after that beautiful little boy was born. And I looked at that baby and I thought, who are you? Who is this Mexican Chinese baby? And where's my blonde-haired, blue-eyed daughter that I've seen? But okay, you know, this is my baby. I mean, I saw you. This is what came out of me. Doesn't look anything like me, but you're my baby. And I sat in that hospital room and I listened as all of the other people in the hospital had visitors come up and down the hallway. I didn't have my baby in the hospital that I was raised in. I mean, I was living in. I had the baby in Rancho Bernardo, and I lived in Escondido. Actually, did I live in Escondido? Yeah, Mark and I lived in Leucadia. So I don't know anybody, right? My family's like 20 minutes away. And I'm listening to everybody coming and going, and I just knew Mark was going to be there. I just knew he was going to come. He wasn't going to let this baby be born and not be there. I knew he would be there. And every time I would hear footsteps go by the hallway, I knew it was him, and it wasn't him. And he never came. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And I was humiliated and embarrassed that I was the only single girl, young pregnant woman having a baby that didn't have a father. I didn't know why he left me, because I loved him so much. And I didn't know for 12 years. Anyway, so now we're going to go to divorce court. So here I am back in divorce court. And I walk in. Now imagine this. This is going to make you laugh. I got really big boobs anyway, right? Okay, well, my son's 2.5 months old, and I'm nursing. So my boobs were ridiculous. They were ridiculously huge, and I was mortified. I've had 2 breast reductions, I'll tell you that, because I've always been embarrassed about my boobs. Living in California, you guys don't get that. I understand that. I see women with the biggest implants, and I don't understand it. But at that time, I had the biggest boobs that you have ever seen. And I'm in divorce court, and I'm wearing this little dress. I got these high, chunky shoes because I'm only 5'2". Huge boobs, long hair to my waist, a little bit of mascara, a little lip gloss. I know that I looked like a little girl that had gotten knocked up. That's what it looked like to people when I was walking around. I looked like I was 16. I was pregnant. I was married before I was pregnant. I was not a little girl that knocked up. I was a good girl. So I'm waiting in divorce court, and I'm sad, and I'm angry. I'm sad because I'm still in love with my husband, and I'm angry because he didn't give a shit and show up for his child to be born. So he comes into the courtroom, 6'3.5", dressed completely in black, looking like the devil with a full black beard and long black hair. And here I look like Alice in Wonderland. So what the judge says to the courtroom, I think they say it all the time. And he's looking through his paperwork, right? And he doesn't look up. And he says, all right, Columbus versus Columbus. Does anyone see any reason why this marriage or this divorce should not go through? And then he looks up, and he looks at Mark, and he looks at me. I mean, look at what we look like. And he looks at, and he says, he judged us. And he said, I certainly see no reason why. Granted. And he slams the things down. And then he says, you two need to go figure out this child custody. So you need to go out and speak outside. So I had to go talk to this man now that I haven't seen in 7.5 months. Last time I saw him, he was crying, I was crying, and he was telling me he loved me. And he was leaving me. So we go out and we sit there in the courtroom, and we sit down in the garden, and he looks at me, and as soon as he looked at me, I knew that he still loved me, and that I loved him. And he said, I love you. And I said, we're divorced. What are you doing? And then he tells me that he called my mother. He said he called the house every single week trying to talk to me, but she blocked the calls. Just like with my twin, I wrote to him. Everyone in my life knows this. I wrote to him every day. I wrote to him every single day, sometimes 3 times a day, because I've seen what had happened, and I didn't want him to think I left him. I wanted him to know that I was supporting him, and I didn't care. Even if it was just as his friend, I wanted him to know I didn't leave him. So I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? And he says, I wrote every single day. And she told me that when it got close, she told me that you didn't want to see me. Just like I was told. He doesn't want anything to do with you. He's in a relationship with someone else. Leave him alone. You're just a friend from the past. I literally saw the entire conversation 3 days before it happened. Spirit showed it to me in a dream. Detailed word for word. So I didn't believe it. And everyone in my life says, Sherry, give me a break. You know what? It's the truth. Get on with it. You know, he's on with his life. Believe it. And I didn't believe it. So I'm watching my life replay again. So he says to me, it broke my heart that you didn't want to see me anymore, that you didn't want to talk to me. So I went on with my life, and I met a girl in Colorado. And I had an affair with her. I lived with her for a while. But I never stopped loving you. Now I'm hurt. Because I wouldn't let anybody touch me. Just like now. I haven't let anybody touch me I haven't let anybody touch me since my twin was with me. And it hurts to watch somebody you love with somebody else. Especially when you know that you're not together because of lies that other people have told. And you can't do anything about it. And I don't understand why Spirit allows it to happen. And yet I do. For all of you. Because there's so many other people that this happened to. So we tried to work it out, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because in the back of my mind, I just couldn't do it. I didn't understand. I couldn't. And so I went on with my life, and that's when I met this man from Canada who came for a visit, and I married him. My parents chose him. I liked his brother, actually. He was a twin. His twin was just like me. He was, outrageous, and he made me laugh, and he loved my son, and they got along great. He was funny, but the other one was responsible. My dad said, you've already had a choice, and look what your choices have. Look what happened with your choices. You need to have somebody, and my mother said this actually, you need to have somebody who's capable of paying for your child, who is responsible in the congregation, who is blah, 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 blah. All the rules for the congregation is what I needed. You know, I got to choose from love, and look what that did. So I didn't choose the one that I liked. I chose the one that was in my highest good, which was really, really wrong of me. It was very unfair to him, and it was very unfair to me, but it was horrible. I shouldn't have done that. I tried to tell myself that I love this person, but he never made me laugh. We never understood each other. We never connected. And it was horrible. And when I chose him instead of his brother, who I liked, he hated my guts. I'm watching right now a replay of my twin and I and his friend. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because my twin knows what I'm talking about. There's always one you love. God, I didn't know this was going to go on so long. I'm going to lose my battery. It took 12 years. No. So we're going to get married. My parents are happy. I'm happy because I feel like I've redeemed myself in front of my family and in front of the congregation. This woman with the scarlet letters, you know, child's not going to be a bastard child. This child's going to have a father. I mean, all of these horrible stereotypes. I've redeemed my name and my family because, you know, my family was so disgusted with me. Also, I have to tell you that when I snuck out to go see my husband, when the one that I married, the one that I did love, my father caught me, my mother caught me and told my dad, and he beat the shit out of me. I was black and purple from my rib cage down to the top of my knees. I couldn't move. I was literally black and purple. He would have been in jail if anybody had seen it, but I wouldn't let anybody see it because I blamed myself. My boyfriend at the time, my fiance, saw it, and he wanted me to tell, and I said, no, don't let anyone know. And so I ran away from home. I ran away. I didn't tell you this part before. I ran away, and I lived with his sister in Colorado for 3 months. They hid me. Nobody knew where I was because I was running from a domestic situation, which I know is happening right now. I've seen it again. I looked like the bad guy. He was too scared to get together with me because he was still too young to get married. He was afraid, even though he loved me, but he didn't want me to go back to this abusive relationship. So I had to go to my grandma's house. Yes, this is, again, history. I'm watching it again. And I stayed at my grandma's in Canada for 3 months, but I was so lonely. I didn't know anybody. I wanted to come home. So I asked if I could come home. And my dad said, "Are you over him?" And I said, "No." And he says, "No, you can't come home." So I had to wait until I lied and said I was over him. And I promised that if I came home, I wouldn't see him. So I went home, and I didn't see him. And that's when I dated the other guy that my mom wanted me with. But I couldn't get the other one out of my head. And he found out that I was dating this other person, and he came back from Colorado. He was so angry. He came back, and we ran away, and we got married. Okay, you didn't get that part. So it's always been a running away. It's always been, that's why I don't want to have to run away with my twin. I don't want it to be a secret. I don't want to be a dirty secret. I want him to say to the family, "This is the love of my life, and I'm going to marry her because I love her." Because I've been strong enough to do that. So I don't know if it'll ever happen. I'm just saying, this is what I would like, the universe. So where were we? Oh, I'm getting married. I'm getting married to the one that I shouldn't have married. It was awful. 3 weeks before we got married, my husband that I loved called me, and he said, "You know you don't want to marry him. You know you're in love with me. You know you'll never love anybody but me." And I was so angry at him. And I was embarrassed because it was 3 weeks before the wedding. This was a huge wedding that was planned. I've watched this as well in my life being replayed. I've seen this again. It sucks. Huge wedding. Bridesmaids' dresses done. Everybody coming from all over the country. From Canada to California. And I was angry, and I thought, "You waited this long? You waited this long? You're going to wait until I'm marrying somebody before you come forward? Are you kidding me?" So I said, and my ex and the husband that I was about to marry is sitting in the room going, "Who is that? Who is that?" And I said, "Nobody." I didn't tell him. And so I went ahead with the wedding, and we got married. And I really felt like I was doing the right thing. I felt like I could make this work. On the dance floor, I was dancing, and my dress was too long because my little sister had a crinoline that she had to wear under her dress, and she gained a little bit of weight, and she couldn't fit into it. So I wore hers, and I gave her mine. Well, mine was fitted to my wedding dress, which was very full. So when I put hers on, my dress drooped. It was hanging. So when I was dancing, I'm telling you, I was on cloud 9. I felt high as a kite because I felt like everyone was, I was no longer shame. I wasn't in shame. I wasn't Scarlett O'Hara that I've always been, you know, and I was dancing, and I got to tell you, my stepfather was German, and so was the man that I married, and his father was German. Never will I marry a European again. The father of the groom was a hardworking man, had a respectable life, but my father was very wealthy. The father of the groom had an issue, felt like my father was throwing his money around, which he wasn't. My father offered to pay for the wedding rehearsal dinner out of generosity because the other family was coming down from Canada, and it was only out of goodwill. But the other man was very proud, and it hurt his pride, and he had a big fight, and it was awful. So we've got these two German men on either side not liking one another. The mother and father hated me on sight because I stole their son from them. He was now going to be moving to California instead of Canada, and they hated me. Lovely arrangement. So I'm dancing on the dance floor, and I'm kind of tripping. He's stepping on my dress, and I'm laughing. And I pick up the dress and I throw it over my arm, and I'm laughing. And all of a sudden, he grabs my arm, and he squeezed my arm so hard that he bruised me really bad. It hurt so bad it brought tears to my eyes instantly. And he said under his breath, and he had done this once before, 3 weeks before we got married. He lost his temper with me, and he smashed a bunch of things and threw everything down the stairs, and it scared me because I had never seen violence except for one time before. with my first husband. And I'm terrified of violence. And I ran to my dad at that time and I said, I can't marry him. I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, clearly I was trying to get out of it because I didn't love him anyway. But he went to my dad and he said, I'm sorry. I was just got a lot of pressure and I didn't mean to do that and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, my dad talked me into staying. And so on the dance floor, he squeezed my arm so hard that it brought tears to my eyes. And he said under his breath, and I saw this face that I'd seen before, this terrifying face that I lived with for 10 years after. And he said, you are humiliating me. And he squeezed my arm and I ran off the dance floor crying, and I said, and my brother ran after me. And I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, I can't marry him. And he said, Sherry, you're already married. We don't do annulments. You're married. And I said, I can't do this. He's abusive. It was awful. My parents bought our honeymoon package and it was in June Lake, Mammoth Lakes, and it was snowing. And I had to go, and we went, and we were watching a movie. I don't even remember the name of the movie. I think it had something to do with Thief of Hearts, which is hysterical because it's the truth. And as we watched this movie, he got up and he smashed the television. And I thought, oh my God, this is just the beginning of 10 years of what I went through. And he said, I know what you're doing. And I said, what? And he said, you're looking at him. He looks just like Mark. I know you're still in love with him. And I thought, oh my God. And I wasn't thinking that because I had made my decision and I was going to be loyal. I am very loyal. I don't go outside of my head. I wasn't imagining being with Mark. I put that away. But it began 10 years of abuse. And it was because he felt like he wasn't loved. It felt, and it was awful. And I can imagine what it must feel like to be with somebody who you think loves somebody else. And I said to him, at my daughter's wedding, my daughter got married 4 years ago, and he came down, and I hadn't seen him in years. He had already called me and apologized about that once. And he walked up, and I said, nice to see you. And he says, nice to see you. It's hysterical. I had 2 husbands at one wedding reception. And one was my really good friend, and one was somebody that I was terrified of for so long. And when I looked at him, all I saw was a very timid, shy, troubled man who wasn't that man that I was married to. And he was a really sweet guy that was just carrying a lot of demons around inside of him that were his father's demons that he passed on to him. Because he grew up watching his father smash things around, and when he was scared, that's what he would do. When he was losing control, he would use his fists and his hands. So it was a trip coming full circle and watching that whole deal happen. So where are we going to go from here? The one that I divorced, he came back into my life. My mom felt so guilty because after the molester and I got divorced, I said to my mom, don't tell Mark. Don't tell him, please. Because she kept telling him. And he kept saying to me, what am I supposed to do? Hurry up and catch you between husbands? Like, for God's sake, you keep marrying people. I'm like Scarlett O'Hara, I'm telling you. That's why I resonate with her. And I said, so he came up to visit his son. First time I'd seen him in 12 years. Because my family had kept them apart. And I felt kind of like it was a ripoff because the man only ever wanted anything to do with his son if I was a part of it. And if I wasn't a part of it, he didn't have a relationship with his son. However, I will tell you that my family really blocked it. So he felt angry that he didn't get to raise the child. And I got to tell you this. That man who my family said, let her have that, let her go and let her have that child raised by somebody who is a decent father who can give that child a decent life. That man raised 2 stepchildren of his own, or two children of his own. And he is an amazing father, and better father than my children had, the one that they said wasn't going to be good enough. And he's a great dad. And those kids love him, and I got to tell you, my son missed out. So he comes up and 12 years later, and then he tells me the story that I never knew of all the things that my mom did and why he ran away and that he lied. I never was with anyone else. I was humiliated, and I needed to get money. I needed to go to Colorado and get money from somebody that owed me money. And I knew you wouldn't let me go. And I didn't think that I deserved you, and I felt that you should be with somebody better because I'd been told that for so long, and I really started to believe it. And I called my mother and I said, did you say that? Did you do that? Did you say that to him? And all she said, my mom had a really hard time apologizing for anything. And she just kind of said and I know she carried it to her grave because she told me. She said, I'm not who I was then. And I said, you stole my husband and you stole Devin's father. How could you do that? How could you presume to make that choice for us? And she couldn't undo it. She'd already done it, just like my twins' mother has already done this. They can't undo what they've done. And we have suffered, and there's been great pain. And no, I don't still love that man. That was a little girl. That was puppy dog love. And I haven't seen him in many, many years, and he never remarried. He loved me for 25 years. He told me he never loved anyone else. I don't know what he is doing now. He's not speaking to me. He's angry because I won't go back to him. Because he asked me to come back to him 3 times. And all 3 times I went back to him, and all 3 times he stopped it. Because his ex-wife came in and said that she would destroy the kids' lives. Somebody else came in. There was always a reason. Somebody was holding a threat over top of him. And so he wouldn't allow himself to have what he wanted. And he pushed me away. And this is my history. You pushed me away 3 times, I don't go back, no matter how much I love you. And he pushed me away, so I never went back. I met the love of my life almost 20 years ago this Halloween, and I didn't know he was the love of my life. He scared me. I know I walked into a room and I felt his energy before I saw him. I felt him, and I turned, and these eyes locked on mine, and he scared me. I didn't understand what was going on. He was way too young, and I didn't know it. I didn't know how old he was. I was young, but he was younger than me. And at the time, he was way too young. And I didn't see... I spent the evening with him, and who he called his brother wasn't his brother. I found out years later. It was his friend. 10 years later, we met again. I was at dancing, and I'd been dancing with this guy from Canada. This is so sick. This whole story is just fucked up and sick. I always loved to dance, and I didn't like going into clubs because I didn't like dealing with men. I just wanted to dance, and I never danced with men. I always danced with girls. But I was dancing with this one guy from Canada because he was dancing with my girlfriend, and so we were all dancing together. We've been dancing for like 3 hours, and I didn't drink at the time, although I did that night. But I was drinking ice water and lemon, and so I was hot, and I went to the bar to get my water. And as I walked to the bar, I felt this energy next to me. And there was a man sitting there, and I didn't look at him because they're always hitting on me, and I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not good at that. So I ignored him, and I heard him say, still drinking ice water with lemon, I see. And I said, yeah, always, and I didn't look at him. And then he waits, and then he says, you were the cat. And I said, I'm always the cat. Well, I turned to look at him, and I saw my twin. I don't know why I have to do this publicly. 10 years had gone by. I had been married and divorced. And he's sitting there, and his hair's longer, and he looks older, but he's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And my heart exploded in my chest. And he looked at me and he said, hi, babe. He's always called me babe. He never calls me by my name. I was the black cat at Halloween. That's what he meant. 10 years had gone by. I've always been the black cat. I'm the Black Panther. And he says to me, I won't say his name. He says to me, so-and-so is here. And I said, who? And he says, you know. And it was the guy that was with him, the guy that he told me he was his brother. And I didn't know who he was. And he goes, you know, the guy who said that I scared you. Because they drove me home that night. And my twin said to me, I've got some property up in Duluth. It's 2:30 in the morning and I'm drunk. It was 2:30 in the morning and I was drunk 20 years ago. And I can't drive home, and they said they'll drive me home. I'm in a car, in a van. I'm in a white van. Doesn't even have windows. Sitting on a box. I wasn't even sitting in a car seat. My twin's in the front passenger. The other guy's driving. My twin's always the passenger, which makes me think about something else right now. He's very smart. He never drives and drinks and drives. So he's sitting in the front passenger side, and he's talking about this property he has up in Duluth. And he's looking at me, watching me through the rear view, like through the mirror. And he says, let's take her up there. Well, I just about lost it, because I'm thinking all of a sudden, I'm drunk, but I'm sober enough to know that I'm in a van with two men that I just met this night. I'm drunk. Nobody can see into this van. It's 2:30 in the morning. They're going to drive me up into the hills. Are you out of your mind, Sherry? What are you doing? And the look on my face, I'm sure my eyes must have been like saucers. And his friend looked in the rearview mirror and saw that. And he says, stop, you're scaring her. And he turns around and he looks at me and he says, am I scaring you, babe? And I'm like, no. I was terrified. So they dropped me off, and that's the last I saw. I never saw them again. Till 10 years later when I saw him that night. So he grabs my hand and he drags me through the nightclub. And he drags me over to this guy who I don't recognize. Because the only one who's burned into my mind is my twin. For some weird reason, I had a picture, and you guys have probably seen it. I try and disguise it because I don't want to give up the anonymity of the two people. But it's a picture of me and my twin and his friend on that night. Somebody took the picture, and I don't know who, and I don't know why I have it. But I did. Spirit wanted me to have it, and I've kept it for 20 years. It's on my dresser right now. I carried it, and I kept it. I kept it even through my marriage. I was lonely, and I wanted to be loved, and I felt like I just needed to be with someone maybe that was my friend. And I married a man that was very, very wonderful, and he was a very sweet man. And he was my friend. He was my best friend. And I should never have married him. It wasn't right to marry him. He is now with the love of his life, and they are soulmates, and I helped them get together, and I watched them, and they've been married 3 years. They just had their 3rd year anniversary, and all I would love is to have what they have with the one that I really love. But anyway, I'm happy that they are together, and I'm happy that I was able to help them get together. It's kind of hard to watch everybody else get together and help other people get together when you have yours so close to you and you can't get your hands on them. So he drags me across the dance floor over to meet his friend, who I don't remember. And there's this other guy that I was dancing with, remember? And this girl. And so he introduces me to his friend, and I look at him and I think, God, he looks different. You know, when I saw him before, his hair was darker, and he had, I think he had like, I don't even remember so much. His hair was dark, it was long. Well, now this guy's got blonde hair and a baby face. He looked like 15 years younger. He looked like a different guy. It was weird. And my twin looked identical, just older and more incredibly gorgeous. There goes my battery. So here we go. We're going to have to plug us in, because I do have to finish this now that I've freaking brought all this out. God, this is so horrible. Sorry. Hold on. I don't know why everybody has to know this personal story, but my daughter's going to be really mad at me for telling this story. I've lost all the conversations. I've hidden the... I've lost everybody. So if anybody's gone, please let me know if it's over. Okay, so I end up... he wants to dance, and I'm thinking, oh, shoot, man, I've been dancing with somebody all night long, you know, and I can't really leave the people that I'm with because I've been with them all night long. So I go over to start dancing with them again. And he starts to kind of dance up. He wants to dance with me. But I'm looking at the guy that I was dancing with, and I'm thinking, I'm with these people. And so I kind of like, and he put his arm around me, and he kind of pulled. Wow. It got interrupted. I don't know if that means I'm saying too much. Shoot, somebody talk to me, please. I need a sign. God, I need a sign. I need a sign. My higher self isn't even going to kick in right now because I'm scared. Talk to me. Okay, they're saying it's okay. Anyway, when I walked away from him, he looked like a puppy that had been kicked. And I got to tell you, the only person I wanted to be with was him. But it was awkward. The whole situation was weird. Anyway, in the end that night, We all drove home to my house, and guess who I went home with that night? My twin. And that guy that was with his brother that was with him the first night. They drove me home. And I ended up telling such personal things. I ended up kissing my twin. I was in a front room with him while the other friend was on my computer, talking on the computer. And I got to tell you, it's the best kiss I've ever had in my entire life. And I was so in love with him, and I couldn't believe that this was happening. I couldn't believe that 10 years went by and the love of my life is here, and there he is again. And it was amazing. And now the next day, we all kind of hung out again, all of us, me, my friends, and him, and something happened. Something shifted. And he pulled away from me, and I didn't understand what was happening. Now, I got to tell you, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I didn't understand about players. I didn't understand. Men didn't do that where I was. And somebody did that with you, that meant they liked you and they wanted to be with you, and I believed that. I was so naive. It was ridiculous, I know. His friend said to me, he's not allowed to go out with you. He can never go out with you. And I said, what? And he said his religion won't allow it. Well, if anybody understands that, I understand that, because I was not allowed to go out with anyone who wasn't in my religion. And I know that if you do that, you will be cut off from your family and from your friends and from everyone. And I looked at, and I thought, what? And he kept hitting on me. He kept moving in on me. And I was looking over at my twin, and I didn't understand what had happened. And he was looking at me, and he was talking to me with his eyes. And he was saying, do something. And I was saying, do something. I didn't understand. And his friend says, you know what? He always rides in, and the girls always go for him. He goes, so this time I'm going to make this be about me. And so he moves in on me. And my girlfriend said, and my twin walked away. He washed his hands, and he just kind of like acted like he didn't care. And I was humiliated. And my girlfriend that was there at the time, and she wasn't a friend. She was just somebody that was a party person that was hanging around the dance atmosphere at the time. She said to me, Sherry, you just got played. Don't you get it? He's not interested in you. It isn't what you thought. And I was so embarrassed. I thought to myself, of course he's not interested in me. Look at him. He could have anybody. He's the most beautiful man on the planet. Why would he be with me? You know? And his friend was really nice. And my girlfriend says, he's cute, you know, and he was super nice. And clearly this guy just totally played you. I mean, he doesn't have any respect for you. So, you know, why not give the other guy a chance? And so I did. And it was the weirdest thing. I've got pictures of that night. It's so weird. Because I ended up dating his friend. And it wasn't very long. And it was horrible. Because when I would go to be at his house, he would say, oh, so-and-so is coming over to stay here. And I thought, what? That can't happen. That can't happen. And it did happen, and it was the worst thing in the world, because the only person I wanted to be with was him. I was so in love with this man. And it was awful. And it was horrible. I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would go out in the living room, and he would be sitting there, and I would just sit there talking to him, and it was horrible. I can't tell you how awful it was. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life, and I'll never be able to let that go, I don't think. So it ended. What didn't last very long, it was over. It was ridiculous and stupid. And I never saw him again until I was in Sedona. This person, somebody said to me, you need to go on LinkedIn. And I didn't know why. It was a business thing. And so I did. And I looked at it, and I see this face, this model from Los Angeles. And I'm like, who's that? And I say his name out loud, but the name wasn't the name I knew, because he put his full name. And it's so stupid, because it's just a shortened version of his name, but still. I'm looking at him, and it didn't look like the hippie that I knew. You know, he was just a bum. He's just a hippie, you know. The guy's jeans and dirty shirt and long hair and total hippie. This isn't who I was looking at. This guy was wearing a business suit. Can somebody see if you're still there? I can't tell if anyone's there. Wearing a business suit, and God, this is humiliating. And I wrote to I couldn't figure out who he was, and I kept rolling his name around in my mind over and over, and I kept saying it over and over in my head. And I wrote to this person that I knew as my twin, and I said, is this you? Do I know you from Temecula? And he wrote back, and he said, yes. I'm like, oh my God. And he says, I've had my awakening, third eye, pineal gland, kundalini, the whole thing, and we're on the same path. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? How is it that the love of my life, this man that has got a part of my soul, is now on my path? I wasn't at the time either. Thank you, guys. And we started talking, and I'm involved in something. I'm thinking, I just come from Wisconsin, and I had gone on my spiritual path, and I thought I was there because I was connecting to somebody that I thought was my twin soul. I really did. Because I had prophetic dreams, I had all of these things that would happen. I dreamed of his life, his family, the whole thing. It was just the weirdest thing. But I understand now how spirit will, they brought me to this person because his life mirrors my twins. Their lives are identical. And it was almost like it's a test run. I needed to see everything that happened in that person's life that I wasn't able to see in my twin's life because it was showing me what was going on. But I didn't understand that until now, and that's why I'm telling you guys. A lot of times you'll think that somebody is your twin, but it's not. It's like a preview. It's like a test drive, because you don't want to go through what you went through with that one with your twin, or you're going to blow it. So he says to me, are you my twin soul? And I said no, because I thought it was this other guy. Now, I will tell you, my whole body was vibrating while I was talking to him. Vibrating. I was bawling, I was crying, I was feeling spiritually disloyal to my spiritual twin that I thought this other person was, because my heart was connected to this man. My entire body was vibrating. Tears are pouring down my face, and I'm angry, and I'm saying, no, you're not him. I know who he is. And he was mad. He says to me, you know what, you're not ready. Go out there, go do it all. Go figure it out. And when he finds you, don't push away what your soul has been longing for. And I said, I won't have to show, he'll know who I am. I was mad. I said, he'll know who I am. And he says, he does know who you are, mind, body, and soul. And I said, oh, and I suppose you think it's you. And he says, I know it's me. I know who it is. And so now I'm thinking, how come you weren't here when I wanted you to be here? How come when I was in love with you, you pushed me away? How come this keeps happening to me over and over in my life? Because it's a twin soul thing. That's what we do. We come together, we pull apart. We come together, we pull apart. It's like the magnets that flip. And when one chases, the other one will leave. And so the twin souls, what you have to do is you have to get to the place where you let go, where you detach, where you stop chasing. And it's the biggest drug and addiction. There is no addiction. Meth can't touch a twin soul addiction. It can't touch it, because it is impossible for me to detach from my twin. It is physically, spiritually impossible for me to do. For me to stop writing to him, I almost had to cut my hands off. I literally had to do it. And that's why Spirit allowed his family to do what they did. Because I don't trust his email addresses anymore. I won't write to him because I don't trust who gets them, because they're compromised. So I won't write to him. People keep saying to me, get a private detective, call him, write to him again. I won't write to him. I won't write to him. I won't call him. I will never go after him again. I can't, or I will never be with him. He has to come to me. That's what a twin soul relationship is about. I am not obsessed. I am not a stalker. I am not crazy. I know who he is. I didn't understand at the time, but I understand it now. We have lessons. We have things to go through. People did shitty things, but you know what? In the long term, it had to happen that way, because I had to stop. I had to stop so that he could recognize she stopped. And he had to recognize too, that's my twin soul. So, we've been getting a lot of messages about people taking the rap for other people. We've been getting a lot of messages. There's a situation in a family where, this is the next story. I've done with my twin. I mean, it's going to come back up, but this is something else. This has got to come up. I've had about 6 people write to me about this, and it's my story too, so I get to tell it again. And I started to tell it before. I told you my mother was very beautiful. She had dimples. She had a perfectly straight nose. She had black hair, green eyes. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor. Big boobs, little tiny waist. She was 112 pounds when she married my dad. I always wanted to look like my mother, and I never did. I looked like my dad. My dad has a pug nose. My dad has big blue eyes. My dad has this forehead, which I always cover because the abusive guy told me I had a really ugly forehead, so I always try and cover it. My mom had dimples, and now I'm getting them, and now I think they're just laugh lines. I mean, old age lines, you know, but my mom had killer dimples. I mean, dimples do me in, man. But she gained weight. and she was heavy. And my dad was beautiful, and he was frustrated with her because he's very disciplined. And if he wants to do something, he does it. And he keeps his body in shape. He does everything just so. And those are his words. But my mother had a hard time with it, and she gained a lot of weight. My dad used to, and I don't know that if he understood what he was doing. He said, he would look at me as a teenager, and he would say, "You are so beautiful, girl. You should be on the cover of Vogue magazine." And I know he was trying to compliment me, but it weirded me out. It made me feel uncomfortable. It took me 2 years before I would hug him. When we got married, I say we got married because we do. We marry who our parents marry when you have a mixed family. When we got married, every night he would come home from work and he would give me a hug. And I would stand there with my arms pinned down to my sides. I could not hug him back. I wanted to. I wanted a father so bad. I can't tell you how badly I wanted a father. I wanted to hug him, but I couldn't do it. Probably because of the I don't know. I just couldn't do it. I was raised by two women who had been molested by men who hated men. So sex was a dirty thing, you know? I was raised to believe sex was a dirty thing. This is also why my twin and I aren't together until now, because now sex is bliss and I am so into it and I'm ready for it, whereas I wasn't before. I wasn't even up until my last marriage, I gotta tell you. I'm ready now because I now realize all of these things were just past demons in my head. So we would have had a horrible sex life, which really would have sucked. So 2 years, I remember the day he came home and he hugged me, and he told me, my dad told me, he said it hurt him every single time that I wouldn't hug him back. And he says, I remember I was 11 years old, so it took longer it took longer because I was 7.5 when we got married. But he says, all of a sudden, these little arms snaked up around and they went around my waist. And I got to tell you, I was so scared to do it. I was so scared to put my arms around him. I don't know why. It was hard for me to show my feelings. They were locked inside, and I understand that. I wrote a song, and I'm going to tell my twin this right now. I wrote a song when I was in Wisconsin, and I thought I wrote it to the one that I thought was my twin, but I didn't. I wrote it to my twin because the words in my head, I tried to fit it to a situation. That's what the words said. They talked about us being locked inside, your feelings being locked inside, being unable because someone hurt you. I'm not the person that hurt you. I'm not the one who spread lies about you around this town. I wrote those words then, and they're about a situation now. They were about a situation then too, but it's so strange. I can't explain it any better than that, except for to say that I feel bad taking it away from the person that I said I gave it to, but it really wasn't written for him. I think we all do have a past life connection, the three of us, so I think spiritually maybe it was for him, but it was for my twin. Anyway, 2 years, or 11, how many years was it that I before I could hug him? And why does this come to somewhere? Where was I? God, this is horrible. The situation that I watched, not being able to show affection. Damn it, Sherry, where were you? Maybe Spirit wanted you to share all this with us because your twin will turn. Oh, God. Heaven will know. I wish I could remember what I was just talking about being able to show affection. God. I lost my thought, you guys, and it's really important because it's not about me. I gotta turn the radio off because it's talking to me and I can't do this. I understand Doreen Virtue. She can't drive a car. She can't have the radio on because they're constantly talking to us. Okay, so not able to show affection. Okay, there is a situation in a family where there are 2 children. Okay, my dad, that's where it was. I'm so sorry. So he said that to me, right? He said to me those comments about my body and about my face, and it hurt my mother. It embarrassed her really badly, and it was awful because it made me uncomfortable and it hurt my mom. And it put a wedge between my mother and I because it made my mother jealous, and it's sick to be jealous of your own child, and it's sick that he didn't understand that, but he didn't understand it. And so You need to be really careful about stuff like that. And you can do this with children, because this is what happened too. My little sister was not my natural sister. She was not my mom's natural child. And when she was 10, she found out, and she lost it. They were super close. My mother was the best mother to little children. She was the best mother. And she loved my little sister, and they were teammates. They were totally on each other's team. And when she found out, something snapped inside of her, and she said, "You're not my mother," and she pushed her away. "You're not my mother." And my mother was so hurt. And my father, instead of saying, "This is the only mother you have ever known. This is the mother that raised you. She loved you. Her mother died having her. Okay, she had a natural mother, but she never knew that woman. She was never in her life. The person that raised you is your mother. I'm sorry. Yes, you carry nationality, and yes, you carry family traits, and yes, I am very much like my birth father. I am, but I am very much like my stepdad that raised me." And my dad, when he did that, he allowed he allowed my, that's a message. He allowed my sister to hurt my mother that way. And there was, all of a sudden, there was a wedge between the two of them. My sister and mother, who were super, super tight, all of a sudden were enemies. And it was my dad and my sister were a team. And my mom was on the outside. And for the rest of their lives, that's how it was. And my mother was so hurt that she started treating my sister differently. She started being mean to her because she felt unloved by my sister. She felt like my sister and my dad were a team, and she was on the outside. And then my dad was comparing her to me, so I was on the outside. It was a very dysfunctional situation. So there's situations where I've seen it, I've watched it, where there are two boys in a family, and there's a mother who loves one, but then the other one comes along, and it's so special. The other one's ignored, and it puts a wedge between the brothers. It's not the brother's fault. It's the mother's fault. And maybe it's a product of what she was raised by, or what happened, and it could be a father that does the same. The point is, favoritism is brutal, and you need to be very, very careful with how you treat children, how you speak to them. Their self-worth is based on how you treat them. I worked really, really hard at always being there for my kids and always telling them that they could do anything. And even when my daughter made really bad mistakes, I always told her I loved her. I didn't judge her. And when she was an adult, when she made bad mistakes, I stood by her. It's her life, because someone made my choices for me, and it's not okay. I never made my daughter's choices for her. And now she went through with her shit. You know, we have to go through our shit. Our Father allows us to make bad mistakes because those are lessons that we need to learn. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like to see us hurting. Do you think my father or mother up there wants to see me crying and hurting? Or my twin to be crying and hurting? Or any of you to be crying and hurting? Of course he doesn't. But we have free will. We have the right to choose. Just like parents have no right to choose for their child. No religion has the right to choose for your child. You can't do that to people. And then expect them, and then say to them, if you do this, I'll cut you off. Well, I will tell you, my son cut me off. My son did to me what my family did to them. It goes on, cycle after cycle, generation after generation. You don't cut people out of your life because they do something you don't agree with. You don't have to like what they're doing, but they get a choice. Do you want to go to your grave not speaking to your child? Do you want to go to your grave knowing that you kept your child from being with the person that they love with all of their heart? Do you know what my son's life would have been like if he had been able to be raised by a man and a woman who both loved him, who both raised him, who were his natural parents? Do you know what it would have been like if my twin and I were allowed to be together when we wanted to be together? Instead of, he's not allowed to be with you. He isn't 3. He's an adult. But if he does that, you will be disinherited from the family. You won't have a dime. You'll have nothing. We will cut you off. You won't be able to be in this organization. We will have nothing to do with you. I saw a grandmother say, if you go with her, I will disown you. You will be disowned. I saw it. If you go with her. I watched it. I asked my twin when he came to me in Sedona, I said, he told me that you weren't allowed to go out with me because of your religion. Is that true? And he said, yes. And I said, why are you here now? Because we keep coming back together. The twins keep coming back together. Because you can't stop true love. It's real. Our love is not, it's not a normal love. This is a spiritual connection. If we are never allowed to be together in this life, I will go to my grave alone. Because it's wrong. I will never settle again. I have settled for all the wrong reasons. I will never settle again. I know who I love. I know who I'm supposed to be with. And so does he. But fear stops people from doing what they want to do. And blackmail from family and friends and organizations is brutal. And some people are just very gentle and they don't want to rock the boat. I will tell you, my twin is so gentle and so good and so loving. He doesn't want to make anybody unhappy. And he carries so much pain. And he has sacrificed himself for everybody. Over and over and over. Big dogs ride for free on his back. And it's not okay. And I think that maybe the family thought that I was after money. I don't know if he has any money. I always thought he was just a hippie. And maybe they don't realize that I'm the one who supported the men in my life. I don't go after men for money. My father is a multi-millionaire. I don't need the money. If I wanted the money, if I was that kind of a person, I could get it. I don't want it. I'm not saying I don't want the money. I don't want their money. I don't love him because I don't need him because, I don't love him because I need him. I need him because I love him. And it isn't because of what he has financially. And all the things that he's been told about himself and other people in these stories that write to me over and over, and more than one person, I gotta tell you, it's gotten to the point where I had to tell this whole bloody thing because I have so many people telling me these stories that I lose it on them. I think I'm talking to the family members. I don't trust anybody anymore because your story is too much my story. It's too much my twin story. How can you not be them? How can you not be them? You're lying to me. I know that there is somebody lying to me. I know that there is somebody that has been writing to me. I've seen it. I've seen their face. I've seen their names. I've seen it. Stop fucking lying to me. Stop the lies. Just admit it. Admit your part. How can anybody move forward if you don't admit what you've done? How can anybody heal? I know that my twin has lied. I know the father of my son, he lied. He lied because he was trying to protect me. He didn't want me hurt. Don't lie to protect someone. Lying is lying, and all that leads to is more lies and more pain and more dysfunction. It doesn't help anybody. I don't need your money. Spirit brings me my money. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to fight with my customers. I don't want to fight with my Facebook friends that connect with me. And I am fighting with them. I'm saying mean things because I don't know who you are. If I don't see your face and I don't stand in front of you and I don't know you and you're giving me a story that is about my life, I don't trust you. I'm sorry. I've been fucked over way too many times, and so is my twin. There's too many people that know too many specific details about our lives to not be involved. They all seem to be psychic. They all seem to have just the question, that I need answered. And I'm your friend. Don't you know I'm your friend? I've heard it over and over. If you're my friend, come see me. Come pick up the phone and call me. Come to my house and talk to me. If you're my friend, let me see your face if you're my friend. Clearly, nobody reads the way I do. Clearly, nobody is going to spill all their shit on public television or whatever this is. Nobody's going to tell their personal secrets. I didn't tell personal secrets about my twin's family. I'm telling personal secrets about my family. This is my life. And I shouldn't be ashamed of it. And now I'm not, because the whole world knows I've been married 4 times. 4 times! By the time I was 32. But you know how many people I had slept with? 4. 4 people. How many people have you slept with? You haven't been married, you say. Oh, but how many people have you had sex with? And I wear the scarlet letter because I chose to be honorable and marry. There's nothing for me to be ashamed of. Scarlett O'Hara married many, many times. The Aries woman is based on Scarlett O'Hara. There's reasons things happen. Shit happens. People make mistakes. People do stuff. Now I'm going to go on to the DUIs and the drugs. I saw the person driving, I told you, in the car. They were partying. Someone got, I don't know if it was an accident or a ticket. It was an accident I saw. Someone took the blame for someone else. It wasn't theirs to take. They carry the shame of it. It ruined their business. I saw somebody forge a signature. I've seen too many things happening that are wrong. And Spirit said it was going to come to light. Well, maybe it's me saying it. Maybe this is how it comes to light. I don't know. Maybe you're going to sit here and you're going to watch this and you're going to recognize, you know what? She's speaking. Maybe it's time that I told the truth, because you know what? I love my brother. I love my son. I love my dad. I love my mom. I love my sister. I don't want our relationship to be over. I don't want this between us. I want to build a bridge from where we are to where I want to be. I want happiness and love. I want my twin to feel loved by his family. I want his family to be proud of him like I am. I want him to have everything that I didn't have. And I want all of you to have that. And I want that. And I deserve it. Don't you think I deserve to be finally with the one person that I choose? That would be really, really nice. And the thing is, I can't choose somebody who isn't spiritually, sexually, emotionally, physically, and mentally with me. And I've only ever found one person that has all of that. And I scare myself because I ask myself, did I create this? Did I make this up in my mind? Because all of my friends tell me that. My daughter tells me that. She's dying right now if she's watching this, going, oh my God, Mom. People are going to want to lock you up. But Spirit tells me it's very, very strong, and my belief is so strong, and my trust is so strong that I just trust it. You know, they always say one loves more. I think what it really means is one is always able to show their love more. Doesn't mean that they both don't love the same. It just means that some just maybe have a difficult time expressing the depth of their emotions. And maybe they've been in a situation where when they spoke they weren't heard, or they were told to be quiet, or they were told they were crazy, or whatever it is. I'm not afraid to say it. And you know what? I was afraid. I got to tell you, when my twin was in front of me, I've never told him I loved him to his face. I never did. I was so scared because I was scared that if I pushed it too much, he'd run. And I didn't tell him. And I regret not telling him. I remember him walking out the house the last time he left. And I remember him hugging me. He said, I need to hold you. And he was hugging me. And I was just in my head, just screaming, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I just want you to know I love you. But I couldn't say it, just like I couldn't say it when I couldn't hug my dad. I can't tell you how many years it took before I could tell him I loved him. God. And I gotta tell you, I couldn't tell you how many years it took before I could tell my grown children that I loved them. I could tell them as babies, just like my mom, but I couldn't tell them as an adult. It was very hard. And my daughter and her son, we broke the cycle. We broke the generational cycle. She's with the love of her life. It's her best friend. Her husband has the same name as the love of my life. And he's the same religion. Not the religion, same culture. Trippy, hey? But they broke the bond. They know how to tell each other they love each other. They hug each other. They're open. But my daughter still has a hard time expressing her feelings to her husband. It's hard for her. She makes herself. I help her. I work with her. But it's hard, and it's a generational thing. But it's important. I told you, a true friend never goes away, and it's always right to love someone. I don't regret saying it. If I never see him again, if I never hear from him again, I don't regret it. I don't regret saying it because I believe it, and I mean it, and it's real. And I know he feels the same. It'll be up to him to deal with his family and the religion and the fear and come to me. Because he's going to have to. So, yeah, so many people grew up. So many people grew up not hearing that they were loved. So many people grew up being told that they were wrong and that they were bad and that they carry that shame. And especially the ones who are intuitive grow up hearing that they're crazy, and they're not crazy, they're freaking gifted. You never heard of your love you from your parents? Yeah. See, it taught you how to do it with your kids. And you know, the day that my mom, when I found her in a coma and I held her hand for all those hours, I said to her, why were you so hard on me? Why were you so hard on me? Why did you want to go to your grave not in a fight with me? I know you were proud of me. I know you loved me, because she bragged about me to everybody else. She told everyone else how proud she was of me. She says she can be a lawyer, she can be a private detective, she's got a beautiful voice, she's everything. My mother bragged about me to everybody but me. I didn't hear it. So I heard it from her friends, but she couldn't say it, because the same reason I couldn't tell my kids. But I gotta tell you, man, I tell my daughter how proud I am of her. I am so proud of her. I tell her all the time, whenever she's beautiful and she's strong and she's a great mom and she's oh my God, I tell her all the time, you can do anything. And the last thing that I wrote to my twins' family, because it wasn't to him, because it was the family that was getting the emails, I said, you can do anything you set your mind to. Don't believe what they say. You can do anything you set your mind to, because that man is gifted beyond anyone that I've met. With all of his insecurity and shyness and awkwardness, brilliance. So I think about all the crystal children and the Vindigo children and autistic children and children with Down syndrome, and I'm just trying to pick out of all the things that the world calls a disability, how much love they have inside of them. You know, people will say, I'm afraid to have a child that has Down. What if I have a child that has Down syndrome? You've never had a child that loves more than that. I just the labels that are put on people. Gay, there's another thing, gay. There's somebody that's gay that is terrified to come out of the closet. They want to so badly, but their family is judging them. If their family finds out, they won't be able to carry the shame. Shame? God made you that way. God made you that way. There's nothing wrong with you. The Bible is bullshit. I'm sorry. Anybody out there? God does not make mistakes. You can't. My son says, you got to be careful. You might turn your child gay. You don't turn a child gay, okay? God didn't make a mistake. It was not your crutch to bear. You are gay. That's just the way it is. And so embrace your sexuality. There's nothing wrong with you. There's a lot of people that are confused about their sexuality because of sexual abuse. They've had experiences with the other sex, and because of things that other people have said to them, they're confused and they think, God, what's wrong? Am I this or am I that? Well, do you feel like you're gay? Do you feel like you want to be with a man? Do you prefer to be with a man, or do you prefer to be with a woman? It's okay to change your mind, right? There's stuff that happens. There's things that make you think things. There's all kinds of reasons that cause people to do things. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's so funny. I think of that Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Yeah, but secretly behind their back, people are talking, right? Oh, it's okay, Sherry. You've been married. God, she's been married 4 times? Seriously? I wouldn't let my son marry a woman who'd been married 4 times. He's never been married. What? She's just out for the money, clearly. Why is she marrying all these people? How dare you judge me? You don't know my life. But you're a mom and you're trying to protect your baby. I get that. But why don't you ask questions? Why don't you research it a little bit? You know? And you know what's funny to me? Is the ones who do the biggest judging end up being the ones that have to pay, because they're the ones that end up getting the DUI. They're the ones that end up getting, the ones that are so judgmental about someone else, they're the ones that are gay. They're hard on their kid because they're gay. And they can't come out of the closet. They're the alcoholic. And they have this to carry. They're the ones that's cheating. So they accuse you of cheating. A man who accuses his wife of cheating again and again and again is cheating on his wife. I'm sorry. I never accuse people of doing something that I just don't. It never crosses my mind, first of all, that I'm going to be cheated on, because I don't cheat. My brain doesn't go that way. I'm very friendly, but I don't flirt with people. My eyes are for one person only. My heart is for one person only. Even when I was in the marriage that was abusive, I didn't go outside of that in my mind. I'm not made that way. That's called integrity, right? So my family has that because I taught them that. Unfortunately, I taught them so well that my son believes he can't have anything to do with me because of his religion. I don't know. I saw my grandson that I haven't seen yet. He's 2 years old. Haven't seen him, but I saw him in a dream, and he was about 6, and he came to me. So I believe that one day I will meet him. And now, after this whole emotional thing, I now understand who that little blonde girl is. She is my child, and so when you talk about having abortions, and sorry, this is going to bother people. Actually, I'm not sorry, so I'll, cancel, clear, delete. If you think that because a child isn't full term, it's not a child. I had an abortion, not abortion, God, I'd never have an abortion. I had a miscarriage. I didn't even know I was pregnant. And I have seen that child. That child has haunted my dreams. And I saw that child, and that child came to me on a card. I have that card. And I didn't understand. I called her Star. She's a star child because I said that she was the child that, it might have been a child that my twin and I had in a past life. I don't know. That's what I believed. Because it felt like it was a combination of us too, but it wasn't. It was the child that I lost. So there's ones who have twins that have been absorbed in the pregnancy womb. One twin is completely gone when one twin is born, and forever they will feel that twin. They will talk to that twin. They feel there's a loss and a connection to that twin. And people may think they're crazy, and maybe they think they're crazy. I have a friend. It took him years before his parents finally told him that he had a twin that died in the womb. And his whole life he felt like the part of himself was missing, and he kept searching for that twin. Well, that is me and my twin. That is not a man that I'm in love with. That is the other half of my soul. I'm always going to be searching for him. I have searched for him for thousands of years. And thousands of years we've come together. And for thousands of years we've never been able to stay together. And this lifetime we were supposed to. And Spirit says we will. But that's why I can't give up. And that's why I have to be a pit bull. Because I watched it in my last life. And I held really close. But I was deceived by my best friend. And this is what's happening with my twin. He was deceived by his best friend. Please hear me, babe. I don't know what's wrong with your ear chakras, why you can't hear me. I kept hearing from Spirit, work on your ear chakras. Because he used to hear me. He used to talk to me. We're in each other's dreams. I know he watches me. But I used to just be able to speak out loud. Why is it that you don't understand? Why is it you don't hear the truth? Or maybe you do and you just are allowing the ego, fear, to stop you. But how could I ever be angry at you? How could I ever not forgive you when I am you? You know, we talk about mother, the intuitive. We all have that intuitive, the divine feminine in us, right? We all have the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I think my twin has more of the divine feminine, and I have more of the divine masculine, because in a past life I was the man, he was the female. I've seen it. But he's still really super, super strong. He's just very sensitive. I see myself as the mother. And at first it bothered me because I thought, I don't want to be your mother. I want a lover. I want a partner. I don't look at him as weaker than me. I am in awe of him. When I walk next to him, he is powerful. I don't look down at him. And any mistake that he might have made only makes him human, right? We're human. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. I got a DUI. I was married 4 times. I made really stupid, horrible mistakes. I got high as a kite on some freaking psycho drug that I don't even do drugs. I'm telling you all of this stuff. I couldn't possibly humiliate myself any further than being so open and honest and naked and vulnerable. So there's nothing that you could have done that I would judge you. There's nothing that anybody could have done that I will judge you. We might get mad. I do get mad. But just because you get mad at people doesn't mean that you don't love them anymore. I've been married several times because it was the honorable thing to do, because my family looked down on living together and pressured me into it. And it was wrong of me to do it, but it wasn't. I won't be made to do anything I don't feel is right for me to do again. Exactly. See, we learn from those experiences. There's so many things you guys have said. I'm sorry. So many things that I've missed. I grew up with my parents never telling me they loved me. I've never heard I love you from my parents. Now I make it a point to always express it to my children. Thanks. My mom's so awesome. My mom was really strong, and you know, my stepdad divorced her, and he regrets to this day divorcing her, but they never should have been together. They weren't meant to be together. The one that she loved, she blew it. She was in love with another man, and he kept pushing her away. He was afraid to commit to her, and so she married my dad. She got mad at him, and he says, I'm going to Germany, and he kept leaving. He just kept traveling, and she knew he loved her, and he knew that she loved him, and we were kids though, we were already born, but he went away again, and she got so angry that she thought, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, and I'm going to marry someone else, and she married my dad, and he came back from his vacation, and he was looking for my mom, and he says, where is she? And they said, she got married 3 weeks ago. He said, I just went back to Germany to sell the house, to come back and buy a house here for us. And so when I saw my mother in my dream after she died, we were in France. It's always about France. Paris and the Eiffel Tower. It's been torturing me for years. And she was in the front of Notre Dame, and I went running down, and she told me she'd been traveling all around the world. And I saw this young, beautiful woman with long, dark hair, and this German man with an accent, and he ran by, and she chased him, and she said, hi, and she was flirting with him, and I looked, and I said to her, wow, she loves him. And she said, yes, she does, and so do you. And she said, don't do what I did. Don't stop waiting for him. He loves you. Don't go with someone else because you're lonely. And so she married my stepdad, and he was a very good provider, but she was cold and frigid sexually, and I don't think she was. I know she wasn't because I saw her. She wasn't with the other person. Because when you're with the person that you're meant to be with, it flows. It's natural. There is no uncomfortableness. There is no awkwardness. I got to tell you, when I was with my twin, I'm terrified. I've gained weight since he's been gone, and I'm embarrassed about it. Not so much that I've gained weight, but my muscle tone isn't as tight. I'm older, you know? I got to go to the gym. And I'm embarrassed now because I used to look better, and he's so incredible. And I got to tell you, when I was with him the last time, I was always afraid of anyone seeing my body. My body was in great shape. I was always afraid. Didn't want, if I leaned to the side and there was a little bit of skin, I was like, oh my God, it's touching my fat roll. I don't even have any fat, but I was feeling like that. I could never undress in front of my husband. Hell no, hell no, hell no. Never, 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 never. Could never allow him to see my flaws. Couldn't. I was just mortified. And I got to tell you that, and I always would have to drink something to have sex. This is very personal, but I know a lot of you relate. I would have to drink something to have sex because I was so awkward. And I would have to have the lights turned almost off because I didn't want to be seen. It was the middle of the day, in the middle of the afternoon with all lights on, no alcohol, and I got to tell you, I was not thinking of anything other than the fact that this is the love of my life. And I got to tell you, I was not embarrassed, I wasn't shy, and he was shy. And it was strange because I have never been like that. He said to me, you're seducing me. And I laughed. I said, am I? Because I've never been able to do that. it just was automatic pilot. It was literally energy it was real. It was real. It was from the heart, and my body just moved, and that's what it's like when it's real. And if you don't feel that for somebody, don't go there. I have so many of my clients, when it doesn't work out with the person they're interested in, they're like, should I just go back to my ex-husband? I'm like, why would you do that? Well, he wants me back. Are you in love with him? No. Why would you go there? Well, I don't want to be alone. I have married somebody because I was alone. I married my last husband because I wanted a friend. I felt like I deserved to have somebody that cared about me and it was kind to me. And he was very kind. He's a good man. But it was wrong. It was so wrong. And my kids said to me, Mom, can you like stay single for a little while? Can you like not marry somebody? And for the last, probably 7 years, they've been saying, can you just date somebody? Can you just like go out with somebody, please? Because you're going to be old and gray and we don't want you to be alone. We don't want you to be alone and lonely. My daughter cries about it. She cries because she doesn't want me lonely. And she wants me with somebody that she wants me with somebody that loves me as much as her husband loves her and as much as she loves her husband. Of course, I want that too. But you know the saying, you'd rather be alone and lonely than married and miserable. And I have been a married and miserable, and I will not do that again. So, I think I have covered every email that I have gotten now. I think we've gotten taking the blame for somebody else. Oh, forgery. Okay, here's another. I'm sorry. This is another family experience. When my mother died, she left the house to me. She offered it to my brother. He didn't want it. It was a noose around his neck. He felt there was no credit, no equity in it. I didn't want it either because I had a house that was already upside down that I was struggling to take care of. And she says, it's the only thing that I have left, and I want to give it to you. So I said, okay, I'll take it on. And it was a taking on. It was a pressure. But I took it on, and I thought, okay, I'll rent it to my daughter and her best friend because my grandson needs a place that's safe, and my mom liked that idea. She's like, that's a good idea. And we were going to rent it for a reasonable amount, right? So that way the house would be taken care of, the mortgage was paid, which wasn't a lot. My grandson would have a place to grow up in that where he was safe because he was in a really, really unsafe neighborhood. And my mom would feel like she was able to give something to us because she knew she was dying and we didn't. I thought she was just moving into a smaller place. I had no idea. She died the next day. So we sat at the day of her dying. I finally took a break and came downstairs to have something to eat. And somebody said to my brother, or to us, my brother was there. There's about 6 people in the room. Something about the house. Who gets the house? And my brother said, I don't want it. There's no equity in it. And me and my big mouth, Miss Honesty, I had talked to my boss about it, and he said, there's $35,000 equity in the house, Sherry, because he had a house in the same neighborhood. And so I said that. So my brother went outside on the phone, got up right away, went outside. I didn't know what was going on. The next day, after my mother had died, I disconnected from the world, and I went to the beach because I'd lost my mind. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. My mom had just died. And my daughter called me because she was supposed to go the next day with Trey to look at pick out the room he was going to get because there were 3 bedrooms in the house and he was going to get to pick his room. And I never went back into that house ever. So she calls me at the beach and she keeps calling and I don't have reception. Finally, I have all these missed calls. And she says, Mom, I went to Graham's house and there's a lock on the door. And I said, what are you talking about? You got the key? And she says, no, there's a note on the door and it says the locks have been changed by order of the executor. So my brother was the executor of the estate. He took the house. He stole the house. I don't care what he says. I don't care how he wants to put this. He stole the house. The house was given to me. The house was given to me. He didn't want it. He had the option of it first. He didn't want it. It was given to me. It was for my daughter and for my grandson. It wasn't for me. It was for my daughter. That was my mother's dying wish. And he stole that. I called him. It took him a long time before he answered. And he said, I am the executor of the estate, and I am putting it in the family trust. And I said, what does that mean? And he says, it's ours. And I said, Mom left that house to me. You know that's what she wanted. She sat there in the room with us last night, all of us, talking about how this was to be done. You agreed. So now because you found out there's money in this house, it's going to be in the house, the executor. Well, see, the problem was my mom died before she could sign the final paperwork. So I saw a brother forge a signature. I just saw that. He forged his name of his brother, and it wasn't him. My house was stolen from me. And at the time, I said, okay, I don't want to fight with my brother. I said, well, let's rent it. Can we rent it to Elise at least then? No, I'm not going to rent it to family. He wanted money. She can't afford it. I don't want to deal with family. He made all, and he got very, very, very bossy all of a sudden. This person who's normally very gentle and sweet and loving all of a sudden became this tyrant, my brother, the alcoholic, who said, I am the executor of the estate. I will make the decisions and you will listen to me. Mom is dead and I'm in charge. And I thought, wow. So I went to sleep that night. Everyone said, get a lawyer. And I went to sleep that night. My mom came to me and she said, this is your brother. Walk away. Let it go. This is your brother. You don't take your family to court. Walk away. I will make sure that you're taken care of. And so I did. I walked away. That's when I went to Wisconsin. That's why I left. That's why I left. Nobody knows why I left. That's why I left. I gave my house to the bank. I walked away. I got $3,500 for a 5-bedroom house with a pool. I walked away from everything. I walked away from this city. I walked away from everyone in my life. I left. Because I wasn't going to go to court with my brother. And what? And fight and sling mud back and forth. And humiliate my mother's last wishes. And so what? So that the lawyers could get most of the money anyway? What would I get? What would be the point of that? Do you think my brother and I have a good relationship? No. Do I hate him? No. Do I respect him? No. Do I feel he needs to own this? Yes. It's not my karma to carry, and I don't carry anger from it. I just don't have a relationship with him. When he gets drunk, he calls me. I love you, Cher. You're my best, my little sister. It's only me and you. And don't put out, emotional messages about how much you love somebody that you put a knife in their back. I saw a brother stab his brother in the back. Okay? And then he puts out, I would die for my brother. I would do anything for my brother. Say a lot of things when you're drunk and emotional. But your actions are what is the proof of who you are. And you have time. You can remedy that situation. You can change it. Every day we get the opportunity to be forgiven for the things that we've done. Some people do some really terrible things and they can be forgiven for that. But until you ask for forgiveness, you don't deserve it. The forgiveness should be given for us so that we don't carry that pain and that anguish. I don't carry that. When my brother called, I wasn't angry at him. I just listened. He started the conversation very emotional, very sweet, and then he started getting crying, and then he started getting bitter, and then I was like, okay, we're done. It's the routine of the alcoholic. That's what it is. And you know what's sad about it is that's his crutch to bear. That's his cross to bear. That's something he has to deal with, and I feel sorry for him. But it's his choice to pick up a drink, not mine. So I think that was the last thing that I was supposed to talk about, was stealing from somebody something that is not yours, whether it be their good name, whether it be some property, whether it be by insinuating something. Oh, I did see something else. I will tell you this. And I've seen this for several people, and I've seen who they are. I won't name their names because, God. And I am trustworthy because I won't tell these things with names. But I watched somebody drug someone. They didn't know that they put a drug in their drink, and they believed that sex happened, and it didn't. It did not happen. I watched that it did not happen. They believed it did. They were blackmailed afterwards. And they were so terrified for anyone to find out what had happened, but it didn't happen. And I've seen this for several people. I did speak to one of my friends and let him know, which really helped him, because he said that when he blacks out, he doesn't remember. And he says, I could take the blame for that because I could have done it. And I said, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And the person that I saw the accident happen, they blamed him, and they said, oh, it's probably his fault. And it wasn't his fault. And then I saw another person who everybody said committed suicide. And he didn't commit suicide. It was an accidental overdose. There's so many things that people think that they do that they actually didn't even do. And they allow themselves to be punished. And they allow themselves to be kept from what they want and what they love, and because of the shame that they're carrying for something that wasn't even theirs to carry. So there are so many secrets that people carry, so many skeletons in everybody's closet, and so many of us hold on to this pain and deny ourselves what we deserve to have because we feel unworthy. That man who is in the habit of driving drunk and let his son take the rap, that brother who signed his brother's name, the one man who was mortified because he had a DUI because of drugs and alcohol, didn't want anyone to know, so signed a different name down. I'll lose my job. People will find out. What will people think of me? You know, my daughter went to Disneyland on her anniversary just the other day. She looks so stinking cute. And she was all thinking about, she said, I was thinking, everyone's going to look at me now because she's lost all this weight. She's feeling so good about herself. And she says, and I realized, Mom, all this time I've been killing myself to get myself better. And she didn't go outside of her house for so long because she was embarrassed the way she looked. And she says, and now here I am looking hot as hell and no one's looking at me. She goes, I realized finally, because now she feels good about herself. And she realized that nobody's looking at you. They're all worried about themselves. They're all worried. Look at me, always paranoid. I was so worried about my twins seeing me because of the puffy bags under my eyes, and because because I've got cellulite on the back of my legs. It was almost gone. It was almost gone, and now I've got it again. Fuck. I know it'll go away again. And then my arms, they were really fit and tight, and I had muscles, and now they're like sagging. And I'm thinking, great. Guys don't have that issue. But then think about a guy who loses his hair. Oh my God, look at my hair. I've got this badass hair. What if my twin lost his hair? He had beautiful hair. He'd be like, oh my God, I want to wear, you know what, babe? Put on a hat. Your eyes will knock him dead. Shave your head. I don't care. But see, how come we don't get it that when I look at you through the eyes of love? All I see you through is the eyes of love, but I don't seem to be able to believe that you only see me through the eyes of love? And why is it that I think everybody in the world is looking at me and thinking, God, she shouldn't be wearing that outfit. Look at me today wearing this stupid thing. I am boiling hot. It's 106 degrees, and I cover my arms up because I'm embarrassed of them. Who's looking at my arms? I am. That's also telling my body I'm not proud of her, which is wrong. I got to tell you, it's going to be 109 degrees in Canyon Lake on Friday, and I don't want to be here. I certainly don't want to be. I don't have any air conditioning in this place. I've got these stupid fans that don't do any good. It's 106 right now in here. My cats are dying, and I've got this stupid thing on because what? What can you see? You can't even see me. I literally didn't want to. I was looking. What can I wear? What can I wear so I can cover up my arms? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm just reading your messages. My aunt did the same thing to my father, and now her son is doing the same thing with my little brother's house since he died. It's horrible what people will do when money is involved. Oh, you have no idea how many people I deal with over and over and over and over and over. And then they act like, he gave me 20. Oh, then he sold the house. Oh, get this. It wasn't even that. Then he rents the house, right, for 5 years for $1,500 a month. The mortgage was $700. He pays his wife $500 a month to be the money manager, to take a check. It's illegal to do that, by the way. The executor is not allowed to do that. Family is not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to pay yourself more than $100. $500 a month she got for 5 years. $1,500 a month. At the end of the whole deal, they sold the house, and I got $20,000. They got all the money for the rent. They got all of the money for being paid to be the money managers, and then they took $90,000 and I took $20,000, and that was the end of it. And then he took my mother's wedding ring with all the diamonds, the very expensive ring. All I wanted was her pearls, because all I remember is my mom wearing her pearls, and the ring was probably $10,000. And then the one ring that I do have, he got all the other ones, and I don't care. You know, my mom, I'm not going to wear gold, right? I do have that one ring of my mom's. I won't wear it, but I won't sell it either because it was my mom's. So, yeah, when money's involved, people get really fucked up, and it's brutal. Like I said, I've had a shitload of money and I've had zero money, and it makes no difference about who I'm with when the money is involved, and who has what and who has not what. You know, I already know that if my twin lost everything, if he would allow himself to come and join back with me, we would be very, very financially set. I already know that, because we both have gifts, and Spirit will never let me suffer anymore. I will always work for myself. I will never work for anybody else again, and I have the ability to make my money, and so does he, because I need his skills. He's got skills that I don't have, and if he would work with me, we could kick ass, and it would be in the service to everyone else. He's probably got a huge business of his own. I don't know. He's brilliant, I told you. And look at me talking about him like he's like the decision's already made. It's not my decision to make. You know, two people make that decision. I'm just saying. It's just an example of, you know, some people saying that. I know that men a lot of times, their job is them. It's kind of like their self-worth, or, you know, they work so hard to build something up and now it's all gone and now they have nothing and now they're embarrassed or ashamed, and it's like, wow, you got nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to everyone. Remember when the crash happened and everyone lost their houses? How many people lost their houses? Come on, really? Who's embarrassed? I remember when he came to see me after I walked away from everything, and I lived in a room. I rented a room in a modular home, and I was driving my Little Mermaid, and he drove up in his beautiful black BMW, and he looked around the neighborhood, and he goes, "What are you doing here? This is beneath you." And I said to him, "Hey, you know what? It is what it is. Are you going to come in, or are you going to stand on the street judging me?" So then he comes in, and he looks in my suite, and he's like, "Wow, it felt like me, right?" Money doesn't matter to me. And I knew I wasn't going to stay there for long. And I move. What's that song? The Jeffersons, moving on up, moving on up. Moving on up doesn't necessarily mean financial. Like I said, I would be happy in a trailer in the forest because it's too damn hot here. So, but I deserve more, and so does he. So he will be given more, and so will I. Whether it's together or not is up to us when we come together and have that discussion that we must have. So everybody, I think I did get everything at this point. Hold on. Same here. I've lost over 60 pounds and I can't see it. Saw my aunt yesterday who hasn't seen me since I lost weight. She said to me, "Wow, where's the other half of you?" That's why my ex-husband married me. He is a con man. Found out about my insurance settlement. The minute he spent the last dime, he beat the hell out of me and didn't stop until the day he was arrested, trying to kill my 4 children and I. See? So when I tell these stories and my family gets upset because I'm telling too much personal information, it's not just for me. It's so many other people have been through it. I think that the message is, don't interfere in anybody else's life, don't make anyone else's choices for them, and don't judge anyone else. We all have free will. You live in a trailer in the forest? How nice. It must be incredibly beautiful. I love the sound of the rain on the roof of the mobile home. I miss that. That was so beautiful. When I was up in, you guys don't know how I lived. When I was up in, you guys would laugh, man. The way I have lived, I've had beautiful homes with acres. I've had a mobile home. Like I said, I've been in a room. I lived in a bed and breakfast in a room for 6 months. It was beautiful. Until I had, I've had to have roommates. I'd never had roommates before I'd been married. I had beautiful homes. That was humbling. And having to deal with another personality, got to tell you, that helped me with me and my twin because I dealt with the same kind of people. When I was up in Santa Cruz and I went up to Boulder Creek, I was sleeping in my car. The people at the campsite were embarrassed of me. They were. They were like, "Wow, really? She's sleeping in a car?" It's kind of like a homeless person, you know? Well, I have friends right now that are homeless and they're sleeping in their car. And you know what? It's safe and it's comfortable, and I'd rather be in a car than laying on the side of the road. And you know what? That's somebody still trying to take care of themselves. They're not asking for you for anything, are they? So don't judge them. By the lake? Okay, you can't beat that with a stick. Really? You got the rain on your roof, you've got a lake, and you're in the forest. How can you beat that? I can't beat that. Not where I'm at. I want to go. I went up to do our reading, the one that I wasn't going to post, the one that I did post because it was personal, not nearly as personal as this, up in Idlewild, and it was 15 degrees cooler. And it felt fantastic, and it was beautiful, and I would kill to have a trailer up in the mountains. I would kill to have that. It would be awesome. So, I'm looking at my poison ivy. My poison ivy. Look how red it is now. It's healing. That's why it looks so ugly. It looks pretty gnarly, hey? I hope I don't get scars from that. But I'm looking at the scar joint ointment that I have. It's wound ointment. It's called ASAP. As soon as possible, please. So I was going to say I should probably offer a couple of readings after you listen to all of this. And I'm wondering if Spirit is telling me to wrap it up as soon as possible, please. Or if this is me saying to my twin, I'd like to talk to you as soon as possible, please. Or if all of the above. Where do you live, Kathleen? God, it's hot in this freaking place. We're going over to my, I think I've charged my phone enough that it won't die on me. Look how dark it is. It's that dark. It's been that long that I've been talking. Damn. That may be one reason why my twin doesn't come back. He may think he will never get a word in edgewise. But when we're together, I don't talk. I want him to talk. Okay. So I've got the Crystal Oracle. Michigan. I lived in Wisconsin. Does it get cold in the trailer in the snow? I wondered about that. I have the Crystal Oracle, and I'm going to do as many readings as I can do until my battery dies. It may not be long. I hope that you guys don't feel... I saw my friend Caroline from my work on. I don't know that she stayed and listened. She probably didn't. But I wonder how many of you think that the information that I gave was far too personal. Just curious. You're a Youper? My friend Caitlin's a Youper. She's in London right now. She's a traveler like me. Okay. I'm going to walk away from the camera. I'm going to get a drink. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to find out who it is that I'm reading for. And somebody's going to be my secretary. Okay? Okay, so I guess I'm not getting my water because I can't find it. I'm not getting my water. 2 furnaces. That's like me. I've got 2 fans running right now in here. Oh God. There's this like that little. It's like a little portable air conditioner, and he's like, oh, it gets things so cold. No, it's not cold. My cats are having a stroke. It's hot. Okay. I don't have anybody asking, so I don't know if that means that I'm not doing a reading for other people. Maybe I need to go back over to the light. Let there be light, because I don't really have light here. But I'm gonna maybe it's as soon as possible. Maybe Spirit wanted me to wrap it up. If I don't have anybody ask, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I have to say, you and I are so much alike, and I cried so hard when you mentioned the birth of your son. Yeah, that was brutal. That was brutal. I wish I could show you guys what he looks like. He's so handsome. He's beautiful. I know that mothers think that, but he really is beautiful. So is my daughter. See, my daughter always thought I favored my son, and I didn't. Ah, there's a message. My daughter always thought that I favored my son, but I didn't. The reason she felt that way is because my son had been through so much that I was trying to... her father didn't treat her the way he treated him. So I was trying to be there for him, and she felt like I preferred him and I didn't. So that might be the case of the situation of the brothers, where the mother loves the one more than the other. The mother probably doesn't love one more than the other. It may just be, it feels that way. Kathleen would like a reading, okay? I gotta go get my cards. Sorry. The light is going. It's so dark. I've been talking to you guys for so long. Oh my God, I can't even believe this. This is ridiculous. Hold on, I gotta open the light. They just told us, Joy, okay, they're giving us kyanite again. I don't know what it is about kyanite. I think I need to be over here. I do. It's too dark over here. I don't like to be in the dark. See, that's a message to the universe. I don't like to be in the dark. I don't like secrets. I don't want to be a secret. And I don't like things to be in the dark. So I think maybe that's another reason why this happened. Because if you want something to be different, then you have to do it, right? So if I don't want things to be in the dark, then I need to take things and bring them into the light. So maybe that's why Spirit kept saying to me, do something. This is up to you. They kept asking me to do something. And I thought, what? What am I supposed to do? I can't make somebody do something. What am I supposed to do? I'm not going to, infringe on somebody's free will. Well, I needed to go public. If I want somebody to go public, I need to go public. And maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe there was something that I said that now made things clear. And maybe not. Maybe this is just for all of you guys. Whatever it is, I was supposed to do it. Woo! And I did it. And, I gotta tell you that it was liberating telling the entire world that I've been married 4 times. Oh my God. That was the biggest, darkest secret that I have ever told. And you should be allowed to tell secrets of your own, right? It's my secret to tell. But isn't it funny that I thought that I was okay? That I thought that I had already told my secrets and that I wasn't bothered by it? And I was so bothered by it because I started crying so bad. I was still so humiliated so many years later, when I know that everybody else has had like multiple sexual partners and I'm like practically a virgin. Like, seriously? Hold on. I gotta give myself room to spread this. It didn't blow you away. Oh, God. It blew me away. Because you know what's weird? And maybe people that have been married before understand this. It doesn't feel like I was ever married to those people. It's like I'm watching a movie, of somebody else's life, and it wasn't a good one. It was like, wow, that sucked. And I got to tell you that, as I said, during the abusive time, I've always been a strong person. I've never been a pushover. But I allowed myself to be in that situation because of the religion that I was in. I allowed my body to be slammed up against walls. How sick is that? Really? Because I didn't want to be embarrassed? Because I didn't want to be divorced again? Because I'd been divorced? Because I would let my family down? Sorry. Okay, so what's weird is, again, they're talking to us about kyanite. And kyanite is the blue stone. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to do it. So it must be very important for me. I must need to get some kyanite and freaking sleep with it, or in it, or drink it, or something. It's in my water. So kyanite talks about telling you pay attention to your dreams over the coming days. It talks about you're being encouraged that you're going to have some kind of an epiphany, some kind of a aha moment where you're going to be using your spiritual experience. I know Joy's laughing because this was one of her messages, I think. Through your subconscious or your dream state, you're going to have an aha moment. Something's going to come up. This was one for me. I woke up, I had a nap today because it got so hot that I couldn't breathe. And I thought I may be drowsy, so I went to sleep. And I had a dream that showed me some things about my twin's life. And I got all fired up. And I was shown, you need to speak. So I thought that was my aha moment. But there's going to be some kind of an idea that's going to come. It's going to be an ingenious idea. And it's going to have a radical effect on your life. So kyanite in circuit, please, will help you ground this idea into the reality, into now. The idea is going to come when you least expect it. Don't go looking for it. Don't try and force it. It will come. It'll come on its own. You'll know what it is when you get it. That's your message. The next message. It is 7:45. Have I been on for 3 hours? Who's going to watch this? Like, seriously? Maybe it shouldn't be seen again. I love the fact that I wrapped my twin in tiger iron. Or maybe that's me. Maybe that's me, because the big dark shadow one is behind me. I don't know. I guess it's both of us, right? Because we are each other. So Joy was next. We are what, Joy? I'm sorry. I missed something. 3 hours in? Oh, God. Right on. Here's one we don't know. Okay, pre-night. Look at the colors of that. Ooh! First of all, I love the color of the heart chakra and the color of healing. That's so beautiful. It almost looks waxy, doesn't it? That's beautiful. So pre-night, there's different colors in it. There's like kind of a rose kind of color in the corner. This message, who is this for, Joy? Oh my God, Joy, you're gonna love this. This is badass. You love these cards? I love these. Oh, the cats, my cats, those are my mom's cats. They're Raku. They were my mom's. I have a few things of my mom's. This is really amazing, this message, and I'm excited because it's my message too. We are about to have a spiritual experience in the form of a prophetic vision. It's going to come to you in your dreams. It could be a daydream. It could be a night dream. It's going to be... Okay, remember when I went to Wisconsin and I told you that Spirit asked me... Remember when I told you I went to Wisconsin after my mom died, right? And I thought I was going there because I thought that that's where my twin was, and I was so wrong. That guy was just a catalyst to get me where I needed to go. And remember, I told you that Spirit asked me to do something, and it was really hard for me to do. I needed to say goodbye to my best friend. I needed to cut cords with my ex-husband, who was my best friend. We'd been best friends for 7 years after our divorce, and it was hard for me to do it. And that's when I told you I had my vision missing. Yes, you may. Please keep track that you're next. This is Joy's, and this is your. Then you, Janice. Which is okay. They took my eyes when I went to Wisconsin, and then when I did what I was asked to do, Spirit gave me this message, and they told me, you're going to have a spiritual experience, and there will be no doubt in your mind when this happens that you are being guided by Spirit, and that there is nothing but love exists. Thank you. You're always my secretary. I love that. So I did. I had this card come to me, I don't know, a few days before. And I also got this card when Archangel Michael appeared in my bedroom and told me I was going to Sedona and scared the shit out of me. It's going to be that big. You're going to have no doubt. So what happened for that 1 hour? I got my eyes back. Crystal clear vision for an hour. When you see an archangel standing in your bedroom, you're going to notice it. So this message, this either vision, it's a spiritual experience. It's a prophetic vision. It's talking about good and evil. It's going to show you something that shows you, just like what I said, everybody that's done the things that they've done, they all had stuff in their life in the past and a reason why things happened. Good and evil, there's good and evil in all of us. We can always go to the dark side. We can always come back to the light side. We can go from our night side to our light side, right? We always have that ability. It's our choice. Every day we get the choice. So it's going to show you that. It's going to show you this deep inner knowing that's going to rise up inside of you, and you're going to realize that nothing truly can hurt you except for your own fear. Nothing can hurt you except for our own fear. We do this to ourselves. I've done this to myself. My twin said to me, he's so black and white. It's so funny I say that. He is black and white, yin and yang. He said to me in my dream, you're doing this. I'm not doing this to you. I'm not hurting you. You're doing this to yourself. So stop it. And I thought, I'm like, how can you do this to me? How can you, why are you not hearing me? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing this to you. You're doing it to yourself. So get over it. So I was like, okay. I mean, I literally saw his face and he said that to me. Through this experience that you have, you do understand it. So through this experience, you will have no doubt that Spirit is with you and guiding you. Okay, our battery's dying again. Hold on, I'm going to plug us in. I got to plug us in, which means I got to hold us, which means my energy's going into the phone, which means I'm connecting more, I guess, because I can't have this stupid charger going and have it sitting up here and have it plugged in. It's so annoying. Okay, so that was your message, Joy. And the person that was next was Janice. Oh, Sandy? Wait, Janice? Hold on. Oh, Lord. May I get a reading, Janice? Sandy. Yes, that's true, Sandy. I know you have. I know you have. Joy's already been having prophetic visions. She's already been getting these things. She's been getting words. I love that that happens. I said to her, it almost kind of made me jealous. Because my twin and I used to do that. We used to talk to each other and I would literally hear his voice and he would speak to me and I was like, God, I miss that. You know? And when Spirit speaks to you in your head, it's fact. So whenever I'm told something in a sentence in my head, it's not something that I have to symbolically sort through. It is fact. I have to remember that when I go back over the history of what happened. I have to go back to the beginning and the things that he said to me. I have to put away what everyone else has been trying to make me believe and listen to what he said to me when he left. Babe, do you trust me? Yes, I do. I'm coming back for you. Your message, this is an awesome one, clear quartz. So clear quartz is a very powerful manifestation tool. Will you put your own intention on clear quartz? Anything you want, you put on clear quartz. Clear it, clean it in warm salt water. Just run it under the water just lightly. I think I need light on in here. Hold on. I just ran over my cat's tail. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Liger. I'm sorry. Oh my God. That was a message. That was a message. I just ran over my cat's tail. So that's not a good message. So what did I do to my twin? I just ran over his tail. Shit. See, I don't mean to run over his tail. He was behind me. I couldn't see him there. He was on the thing and I rolled back and I ran over his tail. Sorry. Sorry, babe. I don't mean to run over your tail. Ooh, but that might be ooh, no, that's possibly a good message. I ran over his tail. So whoever's tailing him, I just ran over. Ooh, I like that. It's better. Okay. So clear quartz you can program yourself. So with the message of clear quartz, it's asking you all that you wish to achieve, all that you wish to manifest, what you're trying to bring into fruition. It's asking you to do some deep reflecting, not just cursory and surface, but truly deeply. What is it that your heart is desiring? Make a list, a mental list, and then make a real list. Keep it close to your heart. They want you to set realistic goals, little goals, the ones that you can reach, so that you can see that, because you don't want to discourage yourself by oh, I want $1 million, although $1 million isn't very much money anymore, but I want $1 million, or I want a Jaguar, whatever the hell it is, or whatever. That's a little unrealistic when you've got $700 in the bank. So you need to set a goal that you can reach. And then once you reach that, then you set a bigger goal. And it's one step at a time. But the clear quartz will help you with harmony. Clear quartz will help you with meditation. It helps you with protection. Infinite possibilities. Yes, you did get that message. What does your heart really desire? That was your message. So set that goal in your clear quartz. Women, put it in your bra. Men, stick it in your pocket or on your desk. Somewhere where you're going to feel it, you're going to touch it, you're going to see it. Put it next to your bed at night. I would put it under your pillow at night. And because okay, so that's your message. I'm going to stop with that. That's your message. I was going to go on and I thought, stop, go on all the time. Okay, Joy, you keep that to yourself. Is that for you or for me? Because I don't want to hear that for me. I'm done waiting. That better be for you. That better be for you, Joy. Seriously. Okay. Janice? All right. So, Janice got 2 cards that came up at the same time. And no surprise that one of them is fluorite. We are getting absolute, like, I don't know. So we're not listening. Somebody's not listening that needs to listen. I am, because I'm wearing fluorite. But we have gotten fluorite so many times. Somebody's dropping the ball like I'm dropping my cards. We've gotten fluorite again and again and again and again. So somebody that needs to get fluorite is not listening. They need to pay attention to the fluorite message. This is what fluorite looks like. You can get it in a crystal, you can get it in a bracelet, you can get it, it's not that expensive. I've got it on my wrist, the really skinny little tiny one, it's like purple, that's fluorite. So fluorite is telling us, it's a, ow, I spit my cheek. Okay, so that's what it's telling us, because it's about protection. That's interesting. So it's going to help, it's a high spiritual vibration, and it's going to help protect you from a negative influence or a negative person in your life. So I'm going to see myself in a fluorite cave, in a crystal cave completely filled with fluorite. And I'm going to see my twin there too. We are both completely in a fluorite cave. So I'm going to put my fluorite bracelet around his picture, and I'm going to sleep with this fluorite card under my pillow, because that's my intention. And we can take our clear quartz crystal and charge it with a fluorite intention if we don't have fluorite. So this person is causing you to become negatively imbalanced. Okay? This negative energy, negative person, this situation. Right now, the fluorite is giving you light and love, and you're being surrounded by that light and love, and there's no reason for fear except for your own fear that you're having. Yes, you do need to get fluorite. So right now, take a look at it. Fluorite in circuit. Fluorite in circuit. Fluorite in circuit. Look it up on the internet. Print a picture of it. Print a picture of it if you can. You can do that. Find a book with fluorite in it. You don't have to have the stone. Stones are really good to have, though. It's good to have the crystal itself. But they want you to know that you're safe. That you're safe and you're protected. This is for Janice, though. Okay? Doesn't matter. It's for all of us, really, because how many times have we gotten this message? We've gotten this message so many times that somebody's not listening. So, I mean, I've gotten the same message too. So I'm being told to protect myself from a negative energy. I'm trying, and I'm not trying, I am protected. So there's somebody in my page, somebody that's listening that is not doing it. Because I am doing it. I'm wearing fluorite, I am protected, I am shielded. And I was told to put my boundaries up. I was told to put my shield up, and I capitulated again, and I have to stop. And the other stone, the other stone is really interesting to me, because remember I told you that my little girl, I called her Star, and I asked my twin who the little girl was, and he said, it's our star child. And how we say shoot for the moon and you land amongst the stars. Molybdenite is a piece of a meteor. Molybdenite wants you to realize that there is an equality or a balance in all creation. Molybdenite wants you to know that stop beating yourself up is what I'm hearing. Stop beating yourself up. Stop thinking that what you have done or believing that you have somehow failed, or you have somehow made a mistake that is not forgivable, or that that if you had done something different, it would have changed the course of events. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. Somebody is beating themselves up with a star, and the star is there to erase that. Know that you're always worthy of love. We are all worthy of love. All of us are worthy of love. They want you to, all the things that I told you happened, all the horrible things that happened, I wasn't supposed to end up with my son's father. I wasn't supposed to be there because he's not my twin soul. Horrible things happened, and I suppose during life a while, and if I had, maybe we would have stayed together and I wouldn't have ended up with my twin soul. All the things that happened had to happen, all the horrible things that had to happen, the molesting. I mean, I gotta tell you, everything happened in order to bring me to where I am at this place. If I hadn't moved back from Canada, I would not have met my twin soul. I had just moved there when I met him. And then 10 years later, when I met him again, I had just gotten divorced. We always meet at the end of a relationship because we're supposed to be getting together. But all of these things would have, if they hadn't happened, we wouldn't be where we are at this time. So they want you to say that, stop thinking that you have failed or have failed to do something and it's caused things to happen. Yes, it did, but clearly they were lessons. And we had to get to where we are at this point. And more so, anything other than that is let it go. It's time to let it go. It's time to let go of the past and be in the present moment and be where you are now, because that's all we have is the present moment. You named a star after one of your angel babies. Wow, very cool. Who's next? You should see her. She's a combination of she's a beautiful girl. Isn't that sad that I didn't even know I was pregnant? And yet her life counted. So there you go, abortion people. I'm sorry. I didn't even know I was pregnant, and yet she showed herself to me. She's a beautiful child. And if I was able to have another child, she would have maybe come through as that child. I keep thinking maybe she's going to come through with my daughter, but I don't know. So nobody else asked for a reading, that's it? Okay. This has been a really long lesson. Long message. I hope it's helped. I'm going to ask for one for myself, I need one. No, it wasn't, actually. I know. See, people don't realize I can see who's watching when they come on. I know who's watching. This is for me. Let's see how many of you relate to this message. The stone is called, it's interesting, I don't have this stone. It's called Stitchite in Serpentine. And it's interesting because I keep hearing serpentine. I hear it in songs. I see it as the snake. And the colors are green and purple. Look how pretty the colors are together, the combination. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I was wondering when I started just going off if it was just like way too much information. Too much information, Sherry. God. So fear and negative thoughts are preventing you from experiencing peace and joy in your life. This is my message. They are blocking your creativity, and as a consequence, your life seems dull and dreary. You can change the situation by consciously choosing. I'm literally reading this because I don't know this message. You can change the situation by consciously choosing to love and trust the universe instead of fearing it. So sit quietly in meditation and make the healing power and invoke the healing power of love. Visualize all of the colors of the rainbow swirling around and around you. Feel those beautiful healing colors flowing through your mind and heart. And imagine your thoughts being infused with eternal life. Practice this each day as it will help manifest your negative and fearful thoughts into positive inspirations. There is nothing to fear. You are eternally surrounded by love. Talks about, now for me, I actually do pretty good. I don't actually sit there and dwell on negativity. So that's not my particular message. What it's talking about for me is, because there's several different messages that come from this stone, there's that. So whoever that relates to, that I don't relate to that. What I do relate to, and I know this because Spirit's told me, It's about clearing my energy centers. I already got clear your ear chakras. It's about meditation. I need to spend more time in meditation. If it wasn't so hot in here, I could. It's about and detoxifying. Well, detoxifying your thoughts. I mean, everyone has that. We all have that. But for me, you need this one? Yeah. But for me, it's about clearing my energy centers. So, Stitchite and Serpentine, I don't have. You guys may not have. You can ask for it to be put in circuit. And this will help us. So we're asking the Father, Archangel Metatron, to open our chakras and clear them. And we're asking Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael standing by. And we're asking for this to be put in circuit. We're asking Archangel Metatron to clear us, close our chakras, and Michael to shield us again. Thank you, Father, Mother. And we're in circuit. Now, see, the thing is, we have to do this every day. That's the thing. It's like peeling an onion. Everything we do, we got to do it every day. I had that dream, and I saw some more stuff, and I wanted to kill somebody. I'm telling you. I wanted to go out and shoot somebody. And then I thought, no, there's a reason you're seeing this. And it might be that he's already dealing with it. You know, maybe you're just being shown what he's dealing with, and he can handle it. He's strong. He's got angels. Clear your energy, Sherry. Clear your energy. It's just that I'm not in control of when he wants to share things with me. And if he would be a little bit more clear, I would appreciate it. So, babe, can you please be a little bit more clear? No, be crystal clear. Don't show me other people. Show me who you're speaking about specifically. Say the words yourself, not someone else. I don't want you looking through someone else's eyes. I don't want you talking to me through somebody else. I don't want you channeling through somebody else. I want you to come straight to me. Just like you did when you asked me if I trusted you and when you told me what happened. That's what I want. So that's what I'm asking. Yes, there is a lot of negativity around you, and that's why you're releasing that situation. That's why you're going away from there. That's why the universe is helping you do that. Okay, that's it. I am a little bit embarrassed. Just that much. But I am. Whoa, I just got hit on my right side. So that was a negative thought. So cancel, clear, delete. That's interesting. Do you guys have that happen? When you get hit on your night side, it's like being hit with a bomb, and all of a sudden all the sound goes, and it's like a pop. And then it goes whoosh, and it blows out the light side. So, I love you guys too. Thanks. I don't know if I should put this one on YouTube. It's pretty intense. Do you think that this is something that other people should see? Or maybe the people that were supposed to see it saw it? What do you think? I'm wondering if I should record this one and share it. Maybe you get that in your ear? Yeah. Except for sometimes I wonder if I said too much. Remember, I rolled over my twin's tail, but I think I rolled over his tail, as in literally somebody who's tailing him. That's what I think I got from that. I don't think it was my twin I rolled over, although I hurt my twin. I did hurt him. That hurt his tail. I hurt his tail. But sometimes they're just you think the ones who need to see it saw it. I'm going to ask. I'll be told yes or no specifically. Okay, you guys. Wow, thank you for putting up with all the emotions. And when I do my readings, this is what it's like. I mean, this is what it comes through me. Like when I'm dealing with other people's stuff, it comes through me like that. It's very intense. You think you saw it for a reason? Okay. 2 of you say that. Okay. I'm going to wait and see before I post it. You thought what too? Don't record this one? I saved them all. And then you have a choice to save it and post it, or you can delete it, or I save it and post it and then put it on my YouTube channel where other people can see it. So I don't know. I'm going to ask Spirit to give me an answer. I take you into consideration. I understand that. But I'm going to have to ask. My higher self needs to know that for sure. So thank you for your input. It might be that, thank you. Okay, that's it. Peace, love, and light. Talk to you guys later.